Good evening and welcome to the Boise State Game Pants Esports Arena. Tonight, we are bringing you the latest in the Mountain West Spring Overwatch Tournament. I'm your host, Jacob Jem Palmer, and we are going to be showcasing Boise State versus Colorado State in Overwatch. Will Boise State still manage to maintain their position at the upper half of the bracket? We will see. And to help me answer that question, I have got Michael Fish Fisher joining us. And Fish, Colorado State, certainly a name the Broncos are familiar with and one of the more formidable teams out there.
Yeah, these two teams met last time in the Overwatch semifinals back in 2020, back when it was the Mountainside versus the West Side. These were the two finalists from the Mountainside. Boise State ended up winning that one, and Colorado State is a very formidable team right now. They had a 3-1 record coming into this week. They're challenging for that second place spot, and in the Play Versus tournament where Boise State was the eventual champions, these two almost met up in round 2 as the 1-16 matchup. So Colorado State is a very talented team. Like teams like Fresno State, they're having some outside Mountain West performances as well that are making us take note of them. So this is a very important game for Boise State. They cannot take the Rams lightly because one slip up here could immediately push you down to that 3rd seed, maybe even that 4th seed where we've talked about you do not want to be as we take a look at our standings here.
Yeah, looking at the overall standings, UNLV continuing to remain undefeated, but Boise State fighting fiercely for that 2nd place spot. And you can see the Rams also tied with Fresno State for 3rd and 4th. Remember, the top 4 teams are going to be moving on to the championship. So this is also important for Fresno State. A lose here would put in jeopardy their options for even getting to the finals.
Yeah, and I was going to say, a win here puts the Rams tied with Boise State in the loss column. They'd have the head-to-head. So a very important game for Boise State, and I know the coaches are very confident. I talked to the Boise State coaches before this. They're very confident Boise State can get this done, but this is one of those where we've talked about this in other games. You cannot play down to the skill of your opponent. If you let Colorado State, maybe you win on our first map for Oasis, that could be an absolute huge blow to you. So for Boise State, a quick 3-0, take care of business, move to 6-1. That's what we want to see this tonight for the Broncos.
Well, the Broncos certainly having a lot to take into account. Now, you mentioned Oasis being the first map. Is there anything that the Broncos should take in mind overall into their history with this particular map, Oasis?
It is kind of interesting because this is maybe their most ignored control map, because when we talked about it with Play Versus, they always pick Lijiang when they had the higher seed being allowed to pick. When they needed a sort of get back in the game, Game 5, win it all control map, they picked Nepal. So this is the map that we've seen the least from this Boise State team. I'm sure they scrim it all the time. I don't think they just ignore the map, but this is the map we have the least amount of information on, and clearly a map that they feel the least confident in. As they mentioned, they picked Lijiang and Nepal when given the choices. So if Colorado State ever wanted to start to craft an upset, starting on Oasis might be their best hope.
Well, we will see if that upset comes through with Boise State versus Colorado State in the Mountain West Spring Overwatch Tournament. The Broncos, having only lost 1 game, are looking to continue on their great record. So, as we see, before we start in Oasis, we will have Doc's keys to the game in Overwatch, and that is to never take a fair fight. And what does that mean? Well, that means to take fights in unexpected places, when they are unprepared, and when you can have ability advantage. And thank you to the esports talent Tower for hosting the Valorant event before this. But normally, Docs Keys of the Game are brought to us by Count Identity Trust Global Network, delivering real-time fraud protection, account protection, and enabling personalized customer experiences for more than 9,000 leading brands and payment providers. Quick and accurate identity trust decisions deliver safe payment, account creation, and login events while reducing digital fraud, chargebacks, false positives, and manual reviews. Count.com, KOUNT.com.
Yeah, I'll be really curious which Boise State team is going to be played. I think I've been told it will be the blue team, but we might want to see some subs coming out for Boise State, make sure everybody's still fresh. But, I mean, as long as the blue team's in, you got to watch out for Goblin there. Anytime Doc's keys to the game come up, they're almost warning the other team, because that's exactly what Goblin wants to do, especially if he brings out that Reaper that he's been favoring. He's going to look for unfair fights, and he's going to try and make a play sometimes. It's about 50-50, but that 50% of the time it works, my goodness, is it amazing.
Well, it's not just Goblin. It's also Plato well. I mean, the two DPS roles Boise State has can be so devastating in both their damage and accuracy and abilities to get those quick picks to push Boise State to an advantage in their engagements. And speaking of Plato, it looks like we might be thinking of Reaper well, Reaper is being brought out by Pluto from Colorado State, but I was going to say Bastion, but he switches over to Soldier.
Yeah, Plato and Pluto, that's going to be a very hard one to keep track of here. But we see for Boise State, as we mentioned, it is going to be the full blue team: Guac, Kel, Plato, Goblin, Bagel, and Asu. And we'll see what this Colorado State team can do. Boise State with a bunch of last-second swaps. Most important one to watch out for here for the Rams is going to be Country Road on that Sombra. He's going to have to get a huge EMP if he wants to try and shut down Boise State.
Well, both teams start going toward the point, and Anti-Nate is going to get two of the Rams right off the bat, and Pluto going very low on health, taken out by Guac and followed up by Plato, getting an advantage 2 over the Rams. That's going to go to 3 and 4 with a double by Kel, and very quickly the Broncos take the first point with a statement.
Yeah, exactly the statement you want Boise State to send to these teams in the Mountain West. Look, we know we are one of the best teams, and we're going to play like it, and we're going to come out and say we want to be in that position to have a chance at UNLV when the playoffs start. And that is a great start right now. You see Boise State. Looks like Colorado State's going to maybe try for a bit of a flank, and Country Road only at 25% on that ult. That Sombra is not going to get any value for a while.
Well, the point is starting to be contested as the Rams push onto it. You see Plato up here on the upper level trying to pepper down some damage, and that sticky bomb is definitely going to get some damage on the Mr. Right Click there. Taking Colorado State down to 5. We see Coalescence coming online as well as Tactical Visor as the Diva mech gets taken out, quickly followed up by taking out Baby Diva, and the nade is also going to be getting rid of Pluto as well. So the Rams struggling to find their footing here as the Broncos have already pushed past 40%.
Yeah, you see that, I mean, no ult is even close for Colorado State besides the Coalescence. Dio's the next closest at 56%. I mean, we're going to maybe see last bite territory before the Rams really have an ult combination they're going to like. So you get Attack Visor, you get a Nano onto Guac. Boise State should have an easy fight win as long as they keep their focus here and get the right targets taken down.
Well, the Broncos are going to have a lot of their ultimates coming online just about now, as Goblin has already charged up another Pulse Bomb, going to throw it out, but not quite going to find anyone. Coalescence gets used by the Rams from the upper level, and these two tanks are getting right in the face of Bagel, who is finding himself going to be taken down by Dio. And that Nano boost was also used right before he was eliminated. Plato using that Tactical Visor, but Kel is the only one to get an elimination thus far. Guac using that Primal Rage. And Boise State still trying to fight Colorado State here. They've kept them from the point, and when we've got past 90%, that might be all you need.
Yeah, you see that they're going to try and throw out their last-ditch ultimate for the Rams here. You got the Primal Rage coming out from Mr. Right Click. Death Blossom immediately shut down, already into overtime. Country Road's not even going to get an ult out. Neither is Dio at this point, as he's just going to be wall riding around, trying to buy as much time as possible for his team. He's eventually going to get stunned up, taken out, and that's a great response there for Boise State. It was really impressive how hard Colorado State decided to chase down a large bagel. I mean, as soon as a large bagel left that high ground, they immediately just gunned it for him, and Boise State made him pay.
Well, well, well. What a way to start out. 100-0 as we're going to be moving on to the second map here. A lot more of an enclosed space here. And we're just seeing, you know, I don't think that Plato is probably going to be using the Bastion. Might just want to be, you know, holding down left mouse button for a little bit.
Yeah, he'll eventually maybe pick the May. I'll be curious if Country Road does commit to the Symmetra, or is just going to go for a teleport and then swap off. I mean, the Sombra, unfortunately, just got absolutely exposed. Didn't even get an EMP off the whole time, but looks like this time he'll stick on to that Symmetra, which means if Colorado State can win this first fight, resieging this point could be quite difficult for Boise State because they're going to have to be doing it into Symmetra turn, so a first fight win is critical.
They're not going to teleport onto the point. They are finding themselves cooped up in that small room off to the side, and the Broncos have already managed to plant themselves on the point. See Reinhardt just swinging back and forth in those narrow doors, and now they're going to make their move, but Goblin is taken out by Mr. Right Click. Pluto following that up by taking out Guac, and that was what the Rams needed to start their round off right. You can also see Amp Matrix already charged up for finish there in just one fight, so great first start for the Rams.
Yeah, that was Colorado State calling Boise State's bluff. They're like, you're going to eventually commit. That is just Boise State's style. They want to fight you as often as possible. And they set up all those symmetric turns perfectly and baited Boise State into a spot. They didn't even fight it. Boise State had no reason to fight there. Just an over-aggressive play there for Boise State.
Now the Maywall is going to be able to catch the Reinhardt out, and he is going to be mowed down. Large Bagel getting the last hit there, as well as Goblin taking out Country Road. The Meteor Strike also furthering Boise State's advantage, allowing them to get to the point and take it, only allowing Colorado State to get about 31%.
Yeah, bad news for Colorado State is the point is not in that very small room, and honestly, it's a fantastic job. We're going to see the replay right here. As soon as your Ryan's caught on the wrong side of the wall, I know that was always a Boise State key for a while, the wall and maul. There's just nothing you could do. Meanwhile, Goblin's on the back line taking down Country Roads, and as soon as your Reinhardt's down, if you don't win that fight for Boise State, something went wrong.
Well, Photon Barrier is being used by Country Road. We see the Amp Matrix coming out from Asu as well. No eliminations so forth. Maywall is going to push the Reinhardt off, and Goblin is going to take him out. Down to Lucio, also picked up by Kel, and Boise State is going to continue on. They are 2 up in this fight. Large Bagel being taken out by Spoopy, though, so Asu is going to have to pick up the slack in terms of support. Boise State doing a great job of pushing the Rams back to this choke, and those Maywalls have been on point for catching that Reinhardt.
And Goblin with a great pick there. I mean, you see Colorado State has a pretty nice fight lined up for them in this next one. They're going to have the Shatter with the Blizzard as well as an Amp Matrix. Boise State has their own Blizzard grab to respond. So I think that if it's going to come down to whichever May, Plato and Pluto, ironically enough, gets that Blizzard down first, that team's probably going to win because both teams have a decent follow-up to that Blizzard.
That Maywall forcing Colorado State to go through the central route, where we see Graviton Surge is going to be bunching up Colorado State there. That's just going to allow Boise State to tear right through it.
And usually for Colorado State, I think that would have been a good play. It's a dry fight we talk about where you just wanted to, well, they did actually drop the Amp Matrix, but they wanted to bait out that Blizzard. They wanted to bait out that grab for Boise State, and now they're going to have their own Blizzard Shatter. The only problem is, a Large Bagel did a great job charging that sound barrier, so unless the Blizzard or the Shatter lands onto a Large Bagel, Boise State has an answer for these high-value ults for Colorado State.
Here comes Goblin looking for a pick, taking out Country Road, and quickly following that up with Pluto and stopping this Blizzard before it can really get any sort of money from Boise State. Who really cares if 2 of your members are frozen and Goblin's just going through your entire backline and tearing through your team?
Yeah, and we saw the sound barrier come out there from a Large Bagel, just negated all of that CC damage as Country Roads unfortunately just has not figured out what he wants to play. We've seen the Symmetra, we've seen the Doomfist, all of them unfortunately have had similar results as Pluto will dash into his demise, and Boise State will start out strong with a nice win on Control. That's exactly what I wanted. When these teams that are up and coming, that they're fighting for that 3rd and 4th place spot, if you can kind of, you know, smash them back down a little bit, say, no, we've got 2nd place, you try for 3rd. I like that response from Boise State, just absolutely dominating on Control.
And we can see the play of the game here was just Goblin going insane on the backline, taking out both of Colorado's DPSs, and also using that Meteor Strike, quickly taking out that Immortality Field, following it up with the SIG. Great all-around play for Boise State. And it is interesting as Colorado State doesn't, like you were saying, Fish, doesn't seem to really have some sort of set strategy. But right now, but right now, what do you think Colorado State really needs to go for? What would be the pick for their DPSs?
They just need to pick something they're comfortable on. I don't think Overwatch is not a game for the most part. I mean, unless you're playing a super unviable hero, which I think we've seen almost every hero played at this point. You've just got to play something you're comfortable on, and I feel like Country Roads is trying to play something that fits his style a bit too much. I mean, we've talked about it all the time. When you lose a fight on Symmetra, you have to just swap off. Unless you're going to Photon Barrier the next fight with the Teleporter, you just got to swap off. You just got to say, you know what, Symmetra's not having it. It's really kind of a bleh hero if you're not holding the point. So I think that's the one thing is Country Roads, bring out the McCree. We know how strong he is consistently. I mean, bring out the Soldier if you really just want to have, you know, just the point and click ability. But you just got to play something that you're really comfortable on, and I don't think the Symmetra and Sombra fit those cases because he's left a lot to be desired on those two heroes.
Yeah, there are some of those heroes that are really good in a specific strategy, but if you don't get that instant win condition, then you kind of got to swap off. It's like the Bastion on the pirate ship. You go as far as you can with it, then you swap off. If you can't get the team working on the Symmetra teleport, then you need to find something else. But the Rams really need to find their strategy as we are going to head to a very familiar site for the second round, King's Row being picked.
Yeah, and I think the biggest question for Boise State on Kings Row is how they want to attack this. They've had their very unique defensive strategy that at the start just absolutely bamboozled teams and has really been figured out a lot recently. And Boise State, with that Orisa and that Diva, tells me they're going to go back to that strategy where they kind of hold the high ground. They're going to let the other team down onto that point and get maybe 1 or 2 ticks, and then either Keller or Guac will be forced to solo hold while Plato and the rest of the team rain damage from above. But, I mean, a lot of teams have figured this out. Even teams in the Mountain West, like Wyoming and schools like that, have really run through this strategy. So I think it's going to be curious how long Boise State wants to stick to it, because I think Colorado State has the answer. Now, Pluto on this Symmetra tells me something funky's already happening.
They're going to try to be a little bit sneaky here. Looks like they're taking the route off to the side through the alleyways. And Pluto, after that Symmetra teleport is used, goes on to the Hanzo. Plato has found them out, taking out Country Road. Kel going right on to Spoopy, mowing him down. So that first play really not working out there, and Pluto having to swap off onto the Hanzo way out from his team and not able to find any sort of pick.
No, when we've seen teams break this strategy for Boise State, they either want to brawl them right on the point or they want to go into that long hallway. You usually see Goblin, now Plato, holding on that Torbjorn and just absolutely bully that Torbjorn or the Hanzo, whichever Boise State wants to play, and get them stuck back there. Now they're going to try and just pull out brawl on the point. Boise State with the high ground, though, is going to make that very difficult, but that's a great pick on the Goblin.
It is a great pick, and Bagel having a respawn is going to speed boost right back toward the point as Immortality Field is taken out by Asu. Guac following that up by taking out the Baptiste. Country Road only really taking out a turret right there. We see Baby Diva is still out from Kel, though. Boise State still holding Colorado State. They're going to have to get onto the point right now, or they just might. Now they're going to contest it. Wait until the very last moment, and that Diva remake also. That insane balance change from Blizzard proving to be great for Boise State, allowing them to get back to point.
Yeah, and I mean, this is just what we've seen teams start to do. They just go out full-on brawl. They don't care about the damage you're going to put out from the high ground, and they're just going to bait you down, because eventually someone does have to contest. And if that Orisa or Diva gets picked off, and there's really not much you could do because you don't have anyone else left to contest. So I think if Colorado State runs that exact same strategy back, they'll have this payload unlocked. They just got to be careful for that Molten Core if Plato's able to spot it perfectly.
Well, Pluto has the Dragon Strike available right now, as well as Amp Matrix, but there is no setup in terms of CC for it quite yet. See a large Bagel stun there for a short second. Colorado State trying to go around the long way. Pluto very low on health. Molten Core being used by Plato there, taking out Ryan, and a large Bagel also taking out the BAP. And this Molten Core is just going through both tanks of Colorado State right there. And without their tanks, they're just going to find themselves having to reset again.
Yeah, and I'm just very curious why Colorado State, they had so much success just brawling on top of that payload or on top of the capture point, why they just didn't do it again. They opted to go for this like weird contest. I think with 5 ults available, Spoopy should have his, and Boise State only having the Pulse Bomb and maybe a Sound Barrier and Matrix. Just fight on top of the point, Colorado State. Just stand there and force Boise State down, or, you know, get a good pick onto Asu.
That is a great pick now. Large Bagel is going to have to be careful when he can use this Sound Barrier here. We see Dragon Strike coming out, not taking out any members of the Broncos. This is going to be key survivability for them when that Sound Barrier comes down. Amp Matrix thrown out by the BAP, and Pluto taken out by Kel there. We also see Deadeye coming up, followed by the Sound Barrier on top of that Shatter that was used. He is stunned, but the Broncos still manage to stay alive. Roadblock is taken out. Goblin and Keller fighting back with 2 picks onto Colorado State. Now make it 3, and a great hold for the Broncos. Now it's just going to force this Hanzo away. And that was such a key Sound Barrier from Bagel, keeping the Broncos alive through all those ultimates.
Yeah, Colorado State just unfortunately is their own demise. There was no reason why they shouldn't have just stood on that payload and absolutely forced Boise State to fight on top of them. They had the Shatter, they had the Diva Bomb, they had an Amp Matrix, they had a Sound Barrier, they had literally everything you could ask for. And unfortunately, Colorado State's greed just got to them as a Pulse Bomb's going to put everybody at 50%.
Now Kel taking out Pluto, followed by the Rhine, and Colorado State left with only a hope and no third tick. Boise State is going to make this a very easy King's Row if they can just take this point very quickly. A final hit onto Spoopy right there. That is the end for the Rams. The Broncos are the ones stampeding, but not the Rams.
Yeah, this should be a pretty decently easy win for Boise State here. I mean, they still get to 97.7%, so it's not like they just, you know, step a pinky toe on the payload and they immediately win. But I just think Colorado State was their own worst enemy. They had a perfect strategy. They decided, all right, we want to brawl you right on the capture point. They got to 97%, and then they eventually lost the fight. They had 2 or 3 chances, including one with 5, and really what turned into 6 ultimates, to just do the exact same thing, and they try to say, oh, well, what if we get a big pick, and what if we loop around, and just, unfortunately, Colorado State just got in their own head too much, but I think Boise State's probably going to be able to just kind of waltz right up to that payload. If they win one fight, they'll easily take this map and put themselves on match point.
And when you really consider it, Boise State has the hardest part behind them in defending that first point on King's Row. Because that spawn is so far away, the Broncos really were able to get the hardest part out of the way. And now we're just going to try to do some sort of a Symmetra teleport here, and then just, like you said, win one fight.
Yeah, I mean, I think Boise State will probably try the exact same strategy that Colorado State did. Just put that Symmetra teleporter up onto the right side, try and be able to contest the high ground, because Colorado State's more just in your standard brawl comp. They're not going to be controlling the high ground with as many heroes as Boise State did. I mean, you can see from the silhouettes, I don't think anyone's on the high ground actually for Colorado State. They want to brawl right behind that statue. So one cheeky teleporter, Boise State gets the high ground. It's almost like they're defending again.
Well, here we go. One fight, one take for the Broncos, and they will be finished. It's kind of exciting to see Guac on this wrecking ball. Here's just going to go right off to the point, right past Colorado State, force them all to turn around as an anti-nade gets thrown on them. The May wall splitting them up as well. That was their own May wall, and Goblin just is going to get a double followed by Plato, and that's about it. Taking the first point, and just that was probably one of the times where I have seen a team just caught completely off guard. It was just a quick turnaround. What? You're on the point already.
Yeah, Boise State just called Colorado State's bluff. I mean, we saw the Rams hiding in that little cubby hole where they were like, okay, maybe Boise State sneaks around, we'll land a perfect Maywall, we'll cut them all off, and Guac's like, I don't see anybody, guys. I'm just going to go on to the point and see where they come from. And that was absolutely fantastic. Plato ends up picking up the play of the game. I'm guessing it's going to be with that Molten Core that, unfortunately, no, it's actually not. It's right after the Molten Core, or actually right when the round started. And Colorado State just kind of walked into his shots. All right.
Well.
What? What?
Well,
where's the Idaho codes at? Somebody please fix that. I don't know what I just saw. That was I have no idea. I'm speechless.
Well, while you're trying to find words to say, I'm going to say that the Idaho Army National Guard is one of the proud sponsors of Boise State Esports. And they invite you to take your critical thinking skills into real time with more than 10 positions offering a $20,000 bonus and your degree of choice paid for. The Idaho Army National Guard, one of the best teams to join. Reach out to them on Twitch at iGuard Gaming. I was going to say, it's kind of hard to pick out a play of the game when the whole match lasts like 1 minute, so, you know.
He got one headshot. What?
I mean,
like what?
It's
he got a double kill with his ult. What? I mean, that is wild. I'm sure we'll revisit that. That is absolutely insane. I'm almost more speechless from what we saw on the map. But I just thought it was a great job. And this is something that, I've challenged Boise State every single week, and so far they've answered my challenge. Is, don't play down to your competition. Just absolutely go for the throat and just kind of stomp them out and say, you know what? You can stay in your battle with Fresno State for third place. That is what you could do in Colorado State, because there's been too many times it's happened across all sports, every esport. I mean, it's happened to probably anyone's favorite team, no matter what they play. They get a team that's, maybe a challenge, but you should win on a good day, and then the map just, drags on, and it's just kind of one of those where you're like, how did you not win the 3-0? So I really applaud Boise State for absolutely coming out and just saying, you know what? We want to win this. We want to move to 6-1. Sorry, Colorado State. You're just next in the meat grinder.
Well, the Rams need to start a reverse sweep right here, and they are going to choose Gibraltar to be the first one. And I just got to say, if you were watching the one of the NECC finals in this match, I don't know if you saw it, Fish, but it was absolutely insane what can happen on this map. It ended up being if I remember correctly, it was like a 7-8 score. In overtime, the team was able to stay on the point for 4 minutes in overtime. It was one of the most insane come-from-behind victories I have ever seen, and a lot of us were watching it here in the arena, just cheering the teams on. So that map can be a great choice. If there's any map that's proven this overall semester that you can make a comeback on, I would say Gibraltar has certainly proven itself.
Yeah, my only problem with Gibraltar is it's another one of Boise State's really, really strong maps with a very, very specific composition that they pull out defending. And the only team we've seen crack it is Oregon State, because Oregon State got absolutely rolled by it in the regular season and then expected it in the playoffs and absolutely gunned down Boise State. And Boise State, I mean, that was shame on them for not just trying to be a bit more creative. But we have not seen any other team figure it out. I don't know how much scouting Colorado State has done, but what you'll see basically is Boise State doesn't want to change. They're going to pick May Sombra at the very start. They're going to try and close hold you as long as possible. And then as soon as that payload dips down underneath that bridge, they're going to absolutely try and grind you to a pulp. They're going to blizzard, they're going to EMP, and they're going to basically, as I was told once by one of our former players, it feels like you're watching goats. It really does when Boise State pulls out this comp. So a very, very interesting one. Now we do get some swaps across the board. Ketchup only is going to be subbed in for Colorado State on the attacking or on the DPS side. Meanwhile, for Boise State, they'll have Nerdy in at support, and then they'll have Frost and Narbles in at DPS. So a couple of changes for Boise State here, but still that exact same comp we talked about, the Sombra and the May. Frost playing up to his namesake on that May, and Colorado State's going to be very, very hard pressed to crack this, because I think this is maybe one of Boise State's strongest maps, and I think you're right, it's one of those maps that teams are like, nobody practices Gibraltar, we'll catch you off guard, and Boise State is so ready for it.
Yeah, Boise State loves practicing on these sort of off-meta maps, if you will, and it is going to come down to this bridge section that you saw, where you were going to see right there. Boise State also loving this position right here, being able to take advantage of the geometry, if you will, stop that payload from moving, and instantly get it. Yeah, okay, so they're just going to go right onto the second floor there. And Narbles is just gonna try to get some intel on what's really going on here, because I wasn't quite sure what was going on.
I mean, it just proves that Boise State has a strategy that Colorado State. Oh, that's unfortunate. That's a great May wall by Frost. Mr. Right Click is very, very sad about that. And that's just a very good job by Boise State being ready for this map. And unfortunately, Colorado State, every team except Boise State will go up where Colorado State did. There's no shame on the Rams, because that is where every team likes to brawl out. You have your first fight on the high ground. Teams love the high ground. It's all over. Anakin, I have the high ground sort of thing. But Boise State loves this close hold comp, and they've already burned 45 seconds off.
It is very impressive. You see the Maywell going up near now. They're going to brawl on the comp. They're trying to push some damage onto that Winston right now, but Ryan's just holding up his shield. And the Broncos already charged to that Blizzard, almost 90% charged. They're throwing up the Maywall. Still nothing really found out yet, except for a hack going on to Country Road.
Yeah, and Boise State, I would expect them, they're not going to use their ultimates. They're just trying to burn as much time as possible. This right clicks and commit that primal rage. A couple of nice double splash bang there, and now Boise State's going to start to get wiped. Ace actually gets one back, but if they get wiped, they're going to fight right underneath that bridge. So Colorado State needs to commit multiple members to the payload. Push as fast as possible. Do not take the high ground, Colorado State, please. 4 people on the payload. Let's go. Let's get this train moving.
Well,
no,
they're going up.
No!
Oh, no!
Oh, gosh. It's not good. Unless they know. They don't look like they know, but yeah, no, Boise State's going to get on. Yeah, that's unfortunate for Colorado State. They're going to be in a world of hurt here pretty soon. Hey, finally somebody's pushing the payload.
Well, and here comes Frost. Yeah, now it's going to start. Ketchup, are you going to be turning around with the Deadeye? I don't think so. EMP is only going to go on to 2 members of the Broncos. Immortality Field is going to be thrown down to keep them alive. Now Frost pushes out the Blizzard, and Nerdy is taken out. Now Cal turning it around by taking out the Winston. And we also saw the Diva Remac coming out there from Spoopy, but Boise State just walling off Colorado State, not allowing them to get any sort of forward momentum, and the double from Frost there. And a little bit of fight at the Sombras there, which Narbles wins handily.
Yeah, that's just unfortunate. Now, the good thing for Colorado State is they forced out the Blizzard and the EMP with an EMP of their own by Country Roads. So now this is going to be a little bit harder. Nerdy is coming up on the sound barrier, though, so that should make this next fight easier. Colorado State, though, they have a chance to break this. They can rally plus primal range. They're not going to have much else, but it's a winnable fight for Colorado State unless Narbles is able to build this EMP incredibly fast.
He's got more than halfway to go right now. And rally still not coming up for Colorado State, and we see Narbles waiting back here, waiting for the right opportunity to get a hack and then a pick. And that Ana looks like a target. Now they're going to drop down. He is detected, though, but now manages to get the hack onto the McCree. Rally used by Finish, followed by the Primal Rage. And Nerdy uses that sound barrier, keeping the Broncos alive for just a bit longer. Narbles going to drop right back down to the rest of the Broncos. Colorado State now trying to get to the payload from behind, but still not finding much luck.
If he's able to get this EMP, Boise State will win. If he doesn't get this EMP, I think Colorado State's going to end up winning this fight as a 2-man ante. Did go out. Nice hack there. Coach Foley has the Deadeye, but Boise State has plenty of line-of-sight opportunities. EMP's up for Country Road. Narbles has got to go quick. There's a 6-man EMP for Country Roads. He does get taken out. Boise State's just going to line of sight. They're going to wait this one out. Narbles can now commit his own EMP. Only going to land it onto 1, unfortunately. Just got beat out by the range, but Frost also has that Blizzard, and that's going to be GG for the Colorado State Rangers.
That still ends up working for the Broncos. Now they just got to push a little bit farther. A little bit of a stall coming up there from right click. Still not pushing the payload forward. Any now Country Road followed by Dio. That's going to do it. And the Broncos, you just got a short little walk and you got another win.
It's just so unfortunate for Colorado State. I mean, we saw it really in real time. We're like, no, please don't go off the payload. Please don't go off the payload. Oh, no. Oh. I mean, and Country Roads played fantastic. I thought that Sombra wasn't it on control. He has absolutely turned that around, and I thought that was fantastic Sombra play. He was so close to landing it onto 3, but he gets bailed out there, Frost, with that perfect Blizzard. The fact that Blizzard charges fast as EMP was absolutely insane for Frost. Huge shout out to his May play right there. And it's just unfortunate Colorado State just wasn't ready for a very cheeky comp on a very interesting map that Boise State has perfected. And unlike Kings Row, we have not seen many teams break it besides the teams that have already been broken by it once.
Ooh, and now we see Narbles is going to be going on to Junkrat right now. Here comes Frost, is going to be pocketed by Nerdy in that Far Mercy composition. We'll see just how fast Boise State can push the payload.
Yeah, I mean, the Far is going to, and the Mercy are going to struggle once that payload does dip down underground. And with Colorado State already having Country Road on the Sombra, I mean, it would be a tough ask for them to do what Boise State just did, but they are halfway there in terms of having that EMP that can be kind of grindy. So look for Boise State if they can get an early pick onto Country Road and shut down that EMP charging. They should have a pretty easy time capping, but if they kind of get stuck down there, Frost and Nerdy probably going to have to swap off, and that's where things could get a bit tricky.
A lot of pressure onto Ketchup as well, being the only one really that has the long range damage to just be able to pick out the Far Mercy the fastest. So you're going to see how well Frost can get a pick onto them right now. And there goes Country Road, able to take out Frost. That's going to have Nerdy just having to go back or wait for the Pharma to for Frost to respawn. Narvel's also taken out, but the Broncos have already just pushed the payload so far. They only need a couple more meters, and there goes the res back onto Narvel's right now. And in this close quarters range, all of these explosives are just going to do huge amounts of damage onto the Rams with Dio, Finish, Spoopy, and Broncos winning.
Yeah, that was a very, I mean, it's a tough spot to be if you're Colorado State in terms of, do you pick to just try and go for a hold further away? Do you pick to try and close hold? I think the close hold is the correct play, as I think that would have given them 2 opportunities to try and hold, but in the end, they waited and tried to get a long hold, and they used, as I said, the payload got within 2 meters before it was contested. Narvel's actually picking up our play of the game. Really, it's a shout out to Asu more than anything, just because that was with an Ant Matrix down that he did all that damage. And Boise State did exactly what I wanted them to do, which was come in, dominate a team that was challenging for that second place spot, and let everybody know first and second in the Mountain West, pretty well secured. You're just battling for third and fourth.
Yep, the Broncos making that statement with force. Now they can continue on in the championships with their heads held high. And I do have to say that just isn't a play of the game for Boise State's DPS, but like you were saying with Asu, with that amp matrix, yeah. I was just stunned how much Boise State is fast able to charge up their support ultimates like that. And of course, you saw Nerdy on the res with the Mercy. It's just those little things in being dependable with support that doesn't necessarily get the showy play of the game, but it makes all the difference in those team fights.
Yeah, it was absolutely incredible. I think Boise State had a complete game here today against Colorado State. They didn't show any weaknesses. I still think that Kings Row strategy is, maybe you go back to the drawing board. Maybe you got to find a way to innovate, because even Colorado State, who I mean, we just saw looked a little overmatched against Boise State, nearly broke it, and probably would have had they just gone back to the payload instead of trying to, overcomplicate things. So that is the only really minor red flag that I would maybe bring up, is that Kings Row, maybe let's go back to the drawing board, Boise State. But now we get our ICCU player of the game, and if it's like Blizzard, I don't know, whoever gets a headshot probably gets it.
Goblin is going to be able to get the play of the game, player of the game.
Yeah, I'm guessing he headshot someone. At least that's what we learned from Blizzard's play of the game. If you get a headshot,
that's what we should do in this montage. Just one clip of a headshot, and that's your player of the game.
That's good enough for Blizzard, good enough for me, I guess. But no, honestly, I thought Goblin played absolutely spectacular. I mean, he once again shows his wide ranges of heroes that he's able to bring out. I mean, it's every week, for the most part, when Boise State wins, you could just pick between Plato and Goblin, flip a coin, whoever won last week, give it to the other person, because that's really what it feels like for Boise State. They both play so well that you just kind of pick one, and the next week pick the other one. And this is not, like you said, not to downplay Guac, Kel, Bagel, Asu, or even Nerdy, who came in, as the supports play very, very admirably for Boise State. But Plato and Goblin just make this team able to play on a whole different level, because they are so talented in the DPS role.
Well, it's brought to you by Idaho Central Credit Union, who believes a great player makes a team more successful, just like Idaho Central's helping members achieve financial success. Goblin is going to be your ICCU player of the game. And of course, if we have a player of the game, then I'm to wager we have a top 5 plays of the game, and that is brought to you by the Idaho Army National Guard, so you are going to want to see that. But now we leave you with the top 5 plays of the game, and we'll be back with more Mountain West Overwatch action right after this. Stopping this blizzard before it can really get any sort of money from Boise State. Who really cares if 2 of your members are frozen and Goblin's just going through your entire backline and tearing through your team?
Yeah, and we saw the sound barrier come out there from a large Bagel, just negated all of that CC damage as Country Roads unfortunately just has not figured out what he wants to play. We've seen
up in this fight. Large Bagel being taken out by Spoopy, though, so Asu is going to have to pick up the slack in terms of support. Boise State doing a great job of pushing the Rams back to this choke, and those Maywalls have been on point for catching that Reinhardt.
And Goblin with a great pick there. I mean, you see Colorado State has a pretty nice fight lined up. Boise State had no reason to fight there, just an over-aggressive play there for Boise State.
Now the Maywall is going to be able to catch the Reinhardt out, and he is going to be mowed down. Large Bagel getting the last hit there, as well as Goblin taking out Country Road. The Meteor Strike also furthering Boise State's advantage, allowing them to get to the point and
Narbles can now commit his own EMP, only going to land it onto one, unfortunately. Just got beat out by the range, but Frost also has that Blizzard, and that's going to be GG for the Colorado State Raiders.
That still ends up working for the Broncos. Now they just got to push a little bit farther, a little bit of a stall coming up there from right click. Still not pushing. For some all to turn around as an anti-nade gets thrown on them. The Maywall splitting them up as well. That was their own Maywall. And Goblin just is going to get a double followed by Plato. And that's about it. Taking the first.
Here are a couple lessons I've learned over the years. Friendships come in all shapes and sizes. And always buckle up. Seatbelts save lives. That's a rule we can all live by.
The news says Gen Z is struggling. I've got news for them.
I wait tables, but last week I built a field hospital.
I put out a forest fire.
I stopped 1,000 attackers.
And a natural disaster.
I've saved lives.
And led a team on patrol.
I serve.
Well, I go to school full-time.
While I work full-time.
The greater the challenge, the stronger we become.
NationalGuard.com to begin your Guard adventure.
Welcome back to tonight's coverage of the Mountain West Esports Series Championship. I'm still your host, Jacob Jem Palmer, coming to you from the Game Pants Esports Arena in downtown Boise, Idaho. And we are moving on to our second match of the night, and I am still joined by Michael Fish Fisher. And Fish, we were talking so much about how if Colorado State loses their first round against Boise State, which they did, then they're going to be in a tough position fighting against Fresno State for that third and fourth place spot. And that's exactly what we're seeing in the second round. Colorado State versus Fresno State. And as we can see in these standings, they've gone to 3-3, tying themselves with basically everyone else. And this match is huge for either of these teams if they win.
Yeah, I mean, it really is going to probably determine who gets that third place spot and who will fall themselves back into that sort of just traffic jam of San Jose State and Utah State. So there's going to be a lot at stake here, especially I think for Fresno State. You see with that one extra loss to give, they can move to 4-2. They're going to put themselves in a really, really good position. And I'll be curious to see. I mean, based off just what we know from these teams, both have already played Boise State. Fresno State took the Broncos all the way to the brink. It was a Game 5 that Boise State had to pull out to take down the Bulldogs. Meanwhile, we just saw Colorado State got beat 3-0. So, I mean, if the pass is anything to base this series on, I think Fresno State's probably your slight favorite. But I think there's just a lot on the line. As you mentioned, whoever wins gets that one edge and is going to be ahead of San Jose State, Utah State. They'll have the head-to-head win because that third seed is what you're really gunning for. If the Mountain West does it as you would expect, the 1 will play the 4, the 2 will play the 3 in the playoffs. That 4 seed has to play UNLV, who is running through the Mountain West with absolutely no competition besides Boise State, who's given them the only run for their money we've seen. So you do not want to be that 4th seed. You want to get that 3rd seed. You give yourself a chance against Boise State, and then when you get to the championship game, anything can happen. So this is a huge game between these two teams. I expect Fresno State to come out on top, but I'm expecting a 4 or 5 game series between the Bulldogs and the Rams.
I certainly wouldn't be surprised to see it. Can the Rams stabilize after what was probably one of the quickest and most dominating wins we have seen from Boise State? So they're going to have to quickly get that out of their minds and be able to win. This is Fresno State versus Colorado State in the Mountain West Spring Overwatch Series. And this is going to be a very key decision, key fight to see who ends up in 3rd and 4th in the overall finals. All right, so if we're believing the same first map, then it's probably going to be Oasis. And was there anything that you saw from last match in Colorado State that you think might play into how they perform against Fresno State?
I'll be really curious to see what Country Road brings out. Actually, never mind. Country Road has been subbed out. So I was going to say, Country Road was the one where I was kind of like, is that, maybe the best pick with the Sombra? Is that maybe the best pick with the Symmetra? And I really want to see what Pluto does on the Symmetra. I think Country Road stayed on it way too long, and I would love for Pluto to be able to change that. And if they don't win that first fight, just get rid of that Symmetra and say, you know what, let's pick something else.
Well, here we go. The first match between these two teams going to be starting in a few seconds. And here we go. Neither one of these teams are going to be trying to do some sort of sneaky Symmetra teleport like we saw Colorado State try against Boise State. Instead, it's going to be the Lucio speed boost onto the point. And Colorado State is kind of in the similar position Boise State was last time, is going to be right out in the center of that point and taking out Fresno State in these tight corridors.
No, it's just a great job using that Symmetra teleporter. You get on the point first, you get your turret set up. Does look like for Fresno State a bit of a different comp than we're used to seeing. You see Sliver there on that Zarya. I think it was a support when the Bulldogs and Broncos met, and also Cherry and KCV Gaming, not players that I'm familiar with that we saw when Boise State and Fresno State played. So a little bit of a new roster here for Fresno State, and that could maybe cause issues on a first map depending on how much time they've gotten together.
They're throwing up a bit of a defensive Maywall there to avoid that amp matrix. They're still going to get a few shots through that doorway with the added damage there. They still haven't really been able to get onto the point, as that Maywall is going to put that Reinhardt in a sticky situation, but the Immortality Field is going to keep them alive. Amp matrix followed by Graviton Surge thrown out. The angle is so awkward for Fresno State, and Colorado State instead, with that Photon Barrier, is going to be able to negate that and keep the point.
That is one of the fastest grabs I've ever seen come out. I mean, he beat I mean, he tied the shatter charge with Mr. Right Click. I mean, he is so far ahead of Dio on that sound barrier for the Lucio, but as you mentioned, that angle was just a little bit too awkward, so Fresno State didn't have the ability to capitalize, but Sliver playing fantastic on that Zarya. That is huge ult charge, and that's going to be a thorn this whole series for Colorado State if he continues to play that well.
And also are going to have 2 more ultimates coming online right now for them with the Blizzard and Diva Bomb, possibly in a combination for them. We'll just have to see how it turns out, as here comes Fresno State taking some damage from those Symmetra turrets. And here comes the Diva Bomb's going to be coming out right onto the point. Sound barrier also used, but Sherry is taken out. Deadeye is going to answer that back by taking out one of Colorado State's supports. Pluto is keeping the advantage, going with a double, now triple onto Fresno, keeping the Rams firmly on the point.
It was just a great job there. I mean, the sound barrier getting that pick onto Cherry. He did get the Diva Bomb getting the pick onto Cherry. He did get the sound barrier off in time. And there's one last chance here for Fresno State. They're going to have that Blizzard. They're not going to have anything to combine with it. And Dio will have that sound barrier. So as long as Dio can sound barrier, maybe speed his team out of that Blizzard, this should be an easy first map for Colorado State.
But in their race to get to the point, they have been taking a lot of damage from those Symmetra turrets, as we see the sound barrier coming out in response to that Blizzard, and Boley has managed to get one pick onto Colorado State. If they can even it up, they might still be able to keep this point. They're up to 99, and here comes Pluto yet again with that photon barrier and a pick from Dio as well. Fighting back, putting the damage onto Reaper. There's another for Pluto, who has just been fantastic on Symmetra. The Maywall thrown up there to allow them to mow down some more members of Fresno. That is a quick win for the Rams.
Yeah, just a really good start for Colorado State. I mean, they played that Symmetra perfectly, kind of probably what they wanted to do against Boise State, and just, I mean, we talked about it all the time with Control. It's whoever wins that first dry fight, they could just snowball in terms of ults. I will say, if Sliver was able to land a better grab, I think Fresno State might have been able to pull it off. So he's definitely somebody who appears like they can charge their ults quickly, just didn't quite execute it in the way that you would have liked to have seen for Fresno State. So we'll see now on this Roadhog what he wants to do. And I really don't understand Colorado State's obsession with this Sombra. I mean, we just did not see it. We had a nice 6-man ult on Watchpoint Gibraltar earlier, but even then they couldn't pick a kill up. So I'll be curious how long Ketchup only stays on that Sombra.
It's one of those things that you need the adequate follow-up from it to really get the full advantage of it. And right now they are both going to go off to the side trying to find their pick. Onto the other team here is fighting around this health pack right now. A bit of a flash out from that Tracer, and the hook coming through from Sliver onto the Moira, and that is a great pick, taking out their main source of healing. And Fresno State is going to be able to take the point first.
Yeah, just a great start for Fresno State. This is probably the start that I think they were expecting to have, and having that point first makes it really easy, especially now you can kind of stagger out Colorado State. You get a pick onto Pluto as well, and it's really going to come down to Ketchup only with that EMP, and I think even if he gets a huge EMP, probably should swap off just because of how spread you're going to be on this point. You're not going to land those 4, 5, 6-man EMPs that are kind of fight winning.
Well, here we go again. Dio going very low on health there. Is now going to heal back up. Mr. Right-Click also got below half health. The hack going on to McCree there. The Sliver is taken out by Spoopy, and without having that pick potential from the hook, Bully Hunter is trying to even it out by using the minefield on the point. But right now, Colorado State has managed to take it back.
Yeah, see Spoopy. Ooh, I thought he was actually maybe going to win that one. Does eventually get pushed down there. You're going to see the Coalescence come out. Can Ketchup only get a big EMP? Might be the difference makers. The Rams have actually now flipped the point, but you see they're going to have a rally coming up for Robin. That'll be a great answer to the EMP. Kind of treat it like a Lucio sound barrier. You stand out of the EMP, then you immediately rally. Plus, you've got a Nano coming online. I mean, you like Fresno State's chances, so a lot of pressure on Ketchup only, as I talked about at the start. He needs to land a big EMP to keep this team snowball going.
Well, they aren't going to be able to use the ultimates that they've gotten. There goes the MP only onto one member, but with both tanks down for Fresno State, that's just going to allow the damage to pile onto the Squishies. The Sushi Lover gets taken out, followed by McCree, and that Primal Rage is just going to push them back all the way to their spawn point.
Yeah, there's a very, very gutsy EMP from Ketchup only to basically assured that, hey, we'll take down a tank and we'll win this fight. But now how do we win the next fight? How do we deal without having an EMP now? So I think it's going to be very, very interesting to see how long he wants to stay on this Sombra. If he gets taken out early in this fight, maybe does he swap? But Fresno State only has a Nano and a Whole Hog, plus a Rally. They don't really have a great Nano target for Cherry there.
Well, a bit of a sneaky wrecking ball going right onto the point. Might actually be able to take it. Now it's going up to the upper level as Colorado State goes onto the point. Spoopy having this Diva Bomb available. He's not throwing it out quite yet as the Pulse Bomb is able to take out Cherry as Dio also uses the Sound Barrier. Whole Hog coming out from Sliver. Bully Hunter eliminated by Dio, and the Diva Bomb just, you hook and you're gonna get a Diva Bomb right in your face. And KCV trying to even it out, but Colorado State still holding the advantage and making their way toward victory.
Yeah, Colorado State has had an incredible response on this series so far after what we just saw against Boise State. Spoopy in that Baby Diva form actually going to survive, which is crazy. He's going to need to be able to get a remech off here to contest this point as he's just getting gunned down by Bully Hunter and finally does get taken out, and that should be enough for Colorado State to maybe, unfortunately, be forced off this point and have Fresno State flip it.
I don't know. You see Dio and the Winston trying to drag it out there, and they aren't going for a reset. Ketchup still holding on to that EMP, which probably is the prudent thing to do right now. But I gotta say, Finish getting the pick on the Sushi Lover. Okay, there we go. So now Colorado State has to fully reset.
Yeah, but they've got that EMP, they've got their own Pulse Bomb. I mean, they're setting up in a pretty good situation. Now, the only problem for Fresno State is they also have that minefield, which is going to make contesting the point incredibly hard. They're probably trying to go for a Nano Death Blossom, I would guess, because Cherry's been holding on to that Nano for quite a few fights. So for Colorado State, the goal is here, you got to win this fight and flip the point before KCV can get that Death Blossom.
Now we're going to see which ults are indeed used first, as the EMP is going to come on right onto Sliver, and he is mowed down very fast there. And the other ultimates are also used. Pulse Bomb going on to Cherry, so that Nano's out of the picture. Sushi Lover also almost being taken out. That Mine is going to pick up Finish, though. Mr. Right Click as well, as Sushi Lover really has been the one to turn it around for Fresno State, but the boop going right onto him is going to allow Colorado State to continue to keep the advantage. They pass 90% now, Fresno State, as Spoopy takes out KC Vet and Bully Hunter, and now they're just staggering back onto the point. Here comes that Nano Boost, but is it going to prove to be useful for there? We do see it went on to the Roadhog, who was just being focused. Primal Rage now being used again from Mr. Right Click there, clearing off the point. We are into overtime, and Fresno State is just trying to keep this going by any means necessary.
Yeah, they committed that Death Blossom, weren't able to get it. Bully Hunter getting a minefield down again, and unfortunately for Fresno State, I just don't think they're going to have the resources. The point now flips back at 99-99, but the Bulldogs not able to get onto the point. Colorado State, an excellent statement win there to be able to go up 1-0 in this series.
And I don't know if we're going to see one of these, you know, one-hit wonders in terms. It's actually going to be a support play of the game, which I always like to see here. We're going to see some great healing, or it's going to be the Coalescence.
As I say, Coalescence really isn't a support play of the game. You're basically just playing like a Gimp's DPS while you heal your team.
I suppose so. I suppose that's fair. But it is going to be a play of the game nonetheless, and the Idaho Army National Guard is one of the sponsors of Boise State Esports, and they invite you to take your critical thinking skills into real time with more than 10 positions offering a $20,000 bonus and your degree of choice paid for. The Idaho Army National Guard is one of the best teams to join out there. Reach out to them on Twitch at iGuard Gaming. And now we move on into the second round with Fresno State getting the pick. Now, if we are to believe from Boise State's matchup, this should be a hybrid, which, if it isn't Boise State picking it, it usually is Kings Row.
Yeah, Kings Row is a phenomenal choice. I would expect Fresno State to probably pick that map. It's a map that a lot of teams love. So I would not be shocked to see if Fresno State goes for it. I would expect both teams to kind of just go standard brawl comps right on the point, and we'll really see. I mean, I thought Fresno State was the favorite coming in. Colorado State absolutely bodied them on control. So I'll be really curious. Was that a fluke, or is Colorado State coming to play, and are they just going to take care of business here and maybe send a message to the rest of the league that, you know, they're definitely gunning for that third place spot and should not be overlooked?
It is going to indeed be Kings Row. Now, Boise State managed to hold the Rams from even getting the payload out last time. So are we going to see any sort of side routes trying to be taken by either team? Because that's something that both the Rams and Boise State did last time.
Yeah, I think Colorado State, I'm hoping they learned a lot from that game against Boise State on Kings Row, because they had an opportunity to full cap, to unlock the payload and start pushing. They just unfortunately got a little bit too creative. And I would expect we'll see here at the start just a full-on slam right on top of the payload. Maybe you'll have a little bit of, flanking through that side cafe. But I would expect both teams to just go brawl on the point. Maybe you have a DPS up on the high ground. I don't think either team wants to get too tricky, because Colorado State's got to be kicking themselves at how they played against Boise State on Kings Row.
Well, it's only a matter of minutes before, or a matter of seconds rather, before we decide what either team wants to bring out. I do want to say, do you think, Boise State has had their signature strategy on Kings Row, which is just trying to take the high point? I don't know. Have you seen any other teams like Colorado State or Fresno State kind of use that strategy at all?
No, not at all. Most teams have just gone, we even saw it from Colorado State. They're trying to just standard brawl. They're trying to get a little bit cheeky, hiding underneath the statue against Boise State, and it just did not work. I mean, I know we've seen some teams outside the Mountain West kind of try and operate with like a split rush strat where you have a Sigma and you follow it up with 2 DPS and you kind of try and 3-on-3 and eventually pinch the defending team. But I would expect both these teams to kind of just go very, very standard. Maybe you get the Symmetra teleport that we saw last time from Colorado State to try and get you up onto that high ground, but I wouldn't expect anything too exotic to come out from either of these teams.
Well, it actually looks like we are going to have a quick change of mind from Fresno, and we're actually going to go on to Eichenwald, which is one of the ones kind of along with Blizzard World that aren't seen too often. You kind of have Kings Row, then you have Numbani, and then you have both Blizzard World and Eichenwald kind of as a kind of niche picks.
Yeah, I'll be very curious to see what Fresno State has in mind. I mean, obviously a pharmacy comp can have a lot of run here on Eichenwald up until that final point inside the castle where it can kind of lose some of its oomph, especially, though, you got to watch out for whoever is defending when that payload is unlocked and you come around that corner and you just get that excellent high ground coverage for the defending team, and you can just rain down damage and you can hold teams for 2-3 minutes there. It's going to be very interesting to see if either team has a strategy to crack that high ground, because if we've seen teams just you set up there with an Ashe, with a Widowmaker, it's almost impossible to push that payload because somebody's getting headshot. Yeah,
it's going to be an interesting kind of back and forth in terms of power and how well the Far Mercy can go, but also how well can the DPSs, because those good long range DPSs like a McCree or an Ashe, the task gets put on them when the Far Mercy is brought out, of how well and how accurate they can be to pick off that Mercy right then and there.
Yeah, it's going to, and neither of these teams have shown too much of a hit scan so far. We've seen some Tracer, we've seen some Sombra, we've seen some Symmetra. It is, and we've seen a May. It's going to be really interesting to see maybe if we get a different hero, if we get maybe an Ashe, we get maybe a McCree. I know May can be very, very strong defending the very beginning of the map, because you can kind of May wall off the most standard way through those archways, and you can kind of just get teams stuck. You pull the wall and maul. So there are a lot of viable hero choices. So if either team does end up pulling out a pharmacy, they might catch the other team off guard. It might be one of those, I guess we'll just kind of deal with it and then we'll swap off when we die kind of things, because no team's really seen a lot of hit scan with the McCree or the Ashe.
Well, Colorado State and Fresno State gearing up for their second round to be onto Eichenwald here in very shortly. But it really is very telling, because we've talked about it a little bit before. Whoever goes to the 4th seed in the overall finals is going to have their work cut out for them, because if the traditional seeding goes on, you're going to have to go up against UNLV, and it could be a huge upset. But really, what's kind of at stake here is really who doesn't want to go up against UNLV until the very end.
Yeah, that's got to be your goal in the Mountain West, is you got to avoid UNLV if you want a chance to win a championship. Boise State has proved themselves also to be no slouch at all. But as I mentioned, Fresno State took Boise State to 5 games earlier this semester. So I would 100% expect that if Boise State is watching this, they are rooting for Colorado State. We saw what they just did about 30 minutes ago to the Rams, so they do not want any part of Fresno State in that 2-3 game. So I'll be very curious to see. It does look like Fresno State has brought back Sugaroo, who has been a standard DPS player for them. Actually going to be on the tank role. So maybe Fresno State messing around a little bit. I mean, like I said, KCV, a player we haven't seen, Cherry, a player we haven't seen, usually seeing Shiguru and Sliver in. So I think Fresno State's trying to mess around with making sure the roster's fresh and maybe find that combination that they think can take down Boise State, because of course that is everybody's first obstacle. You can't challenge number 1 until you take down number 2, and so far nobody's beaten Boise State, and that's probably both these teams' goals.
Well, I suppose old habits die hard for CSU because they are still on this Sombra here from Ketchup. Now, it might just be kind of it looks like it might actually this time just be a quick scouting, just trying to give Colorado State some information, and they're just going to walk right by, give Ketchup the complete, and they might, no, okay, they're not going to try to go for a backline pick there. They're just going to give that information back to Colorado State and wait for them to actually come from behind here as they are on this upper ground here, and Ketchup quickly taken out by Bully there. And Fresno State is going to, if they can get to this point in one pick, that would be pretty huge for them.
Yeah, he's going to change immediately over to the McCree as we see Spoopy's going to jump right in, try and get on top of Bully Hunter, as Mr. Right Click does get taken out. Immortality Field from Robin has been put down, and that one pick is going to be huge. And I will say, that's a very interesting strategy, because usually what you'll see is an attacking team bring out the Sombra, scout out the defending team's picks, and then teleport back and have the whole team swap. You really, as a defender, don't have an option to swap no matter what the comp is. So that was a very, very unique strategy of scouting out when you're defending. You can't swap. You're just too far away to make that an option. So I think that was kind of a strange, maybe meme strategy from Colorado State that did not work.
Well, they're going to be fighting on the upper level here. Only one member back, actually 2 members pushing the payload, and Colorado State trying to go down to the payload to take them out. It's going to be Mr. Right Click followed by Ketchup and Finish. And they are just not having a good time trying to defend here.
No, they gave up that high ground spot so early. They could have just hung up here where Spoopy's chilling and gunned down the side of Fresno State. I was confused why they decided to fight right on top of that payload, as now this is going to allow 1, Fresno State to keep pushing. 2, they're going to be able to set up on their own high ground, and now it's going to make things very, very difficult for Colorado State to play a lot of defense here on this second point.
All right, well, are they going to continue to try to keep the high ground here? It's actually Fresno State who has taken the high ground, is just waiting for CSU to come back up and meet them. Here they go, and this Reinhardt's just going to shatter right to both tanks. They're followed by the pin. And that is just filthy right on to Colorado State, taking out both of their tanks yet again. And they haven't won anything yet.
No, that was just a great job by Bully Hunter. Had the shatter up, realized, you know what, I can just get a pick onto both tanks, and there's really not much CSU can do. And Fresno State has definitely come alive here with the Shiguru coming in for Sliver on that off-tank roll. And It's a Finish going to pop this very aggressive rally and immediately get pinned for it.
Now it's going to be swinging right into this McCree here and just take him out. It's going to make that a triple onto Spoopy. And this is one of the fastest pushes I have ever seen. Fresno State is just pushing through the Rams and like paper.
Yeah, Fresno State maybe got caught off guard about how competitive the Rams were going to be on map 1, and now that they've realized it, they brought their A game, and so far they're absolutely dominating CSU here. I mean, as you mentioned, they're just mowing through. This payload is moving incredibly fast right now, and they really have not even lost a single fight.
They haven't lost anything yet. Now they just need to finish it up and maybe end with over 4 minutes going into overtime there. Saw the shatter, and the Graviton Surge actually is going to be eaten up by that defense matrix. Saw Deadeye come out, not going to pick up anyone. It's just going to be this Reinhardt swinging his hammer back and forth with some help from that Death Blossom. And they are just easily going to push into the final point. It's just, what happened to the Rams is my question.
I mean, I think this is the Fresno State team that I expected to come out here today. It felt like, you know, they were probably the better team on paper, and you know, maybe we talk about with Boise State, maybe they just got a little bit overconfident on game 1, and now that they've seen that Colorado State actually means business, they actually came out and dominated. They clearly picked Eichenwald for a reason, and it shows, and it's going to be a hard job for Colorado State to even come close to matching the amount of points it's going to, or the amount of time it's going to be on that if they get into overtime.
All of the pressure is now on the Rams here to try to get into overtime with any sort of time that's going to match the Bulldogs here. Now, does Ketchup only still stick on this Sombra? Because that has been such kind of an Achilles heel for the Rams.
I mean, this is a fine, now when you're attacking is the fine time to bring out the Symmetra, go forward, scout the enemy team comp, and then come back. That is totally acceptable. They are going to try for the May Symmetra teleport. We saw a team try it yesterday in our high school Overwatch playoffs. Unfortunately, they just didn't quite execute it right, so we'll see if Colorado State's able to pull that off here. But I would be curious. I mean, Sombra will be good here just because you don't know you're going to teleport right potentially into a Bastion who will melt your entire team.
Well, all of the pressure is going to be on Sushi here in terms of defense. He's just going to really try to pick off damage from afar with the help of this Junkrat. Now, how well is the execution going to be in this teleport? Actually isn't going to come out to go over the roof there, as sometimes we see. They're just going to take the traditional route here. That Bastion is going to have such a great vantage point there. And now they're kind of stuck behind. Now we see there's the teleporter over there, and the Bastion is aware of them. They're aware of their, oh, but the Maywall goes up to block the Bastion for a few seconds. And KC is taken out in those few seconds. That gives Colorado State the slight advantage that they might need to continue onward.
Yeah, but until they, oh, nice Maywall once again. These have been fantastic Maywalls from Ketchup only, but until they do take down this Bastion, they're just going to not really have a way to push into this balcony because they're just going to have so many bullets flying at their face. So they got to find a way to get onto this Bastion. They're going to do a little bit of damage to him, but until they get a good pick, as a Shatter does come out from Bully Hunter, he does end up taking down 2. Immortality Field is forced out. It was a nice try for the side of Colorado State, but as you mentioned, Sushi Lover spotted it immediately, and his team was more than ready for that sneaky teleport.
Colorado State's going to have to try again here. Going to try to regroup, but the stagger is going to come onto them pretty heavily here as Spoopy is taken out. Going to bleed off a few more seconds there. We do have Photon Barrier available to them. And do they try, what route do they take now, since they've shown they're not taking kind of the traditional over the roof route with that Symmetra teleport?
I mean, it looks like they might just try the exact same thing, if I have to be honest. That's a great Photon Barrier. You know what, you can just Photon Barrier off the Bastion and just block his damage more than anything else.
And now the Amp Matrix, once the Photon Barrier wears off, that Amp Matrix is going to be pushing so much damage through to that Bastion, who quickly tears through Dio and also the Diva Mech. And it was just a matter of waiting that Photon Barrier out and then going all damage.
Yeah, I mean, I like the attempt there. And this is probably where you probably just swap off the Symmetra. I mean, you tried your cheeky teleport, it didn't work. You tried your Photon Barrier, capture the point, it didn't work. You might, if you swap now and have decent success on something like a McCree or maybe a Widowmaker or an Ashe to be able to get some headshots onto Sushi Lover or get some damage onto him at least, you might be able to have your ult up for one more fight, but I think sticking on this Symmetra is a very risky strategy as they try that teleport behind once again.
They're trying the same strategy and trying to get some sort of different outcome. We also see the Lucio Pete coming out, followed by the tank from Sushi Lover, and that room is dangerous right now, is all I have to say. Bombs and tanks going off left and right, and a triple from Sushi Lover. That is one happy robot right there.
Yeah, that was, I mean, just like I said, unfortunately, feels like Colorado State's maybe trying to force this Symmetra to work as opposed to, you know, maybe trying to think, okay, if Symmetra didn't work, what's next? Because they're going to try the exact same thing here, I would assume. They'll push to the point, they'll throw down that Photon Barrier. Maybe if it's a bit later, they'll be able to get some pressure. But, I mean, they really just don't have a way to get to Sushi Lover right now, and he's just going to absolutely tear them apart. There's that Photon Barrier, they're going to try the exact same thing.
It's just a matter of just protecting the Bastion until the barrier wears off, and actually just pushing so much damage with the Amp Matrix. Just got to break through that Maywall, and there is all of that damage being pushed back onto the Rams in Colorado State. But it's still the same story. A great freeze there from the May, and the Bastion survives through it though. And now the Bastion needs to repair. Colorado State managing to get that point with a crucial freeze.
Yeah, great job with the Blizzard there from Ketchup, only freezing out Sushi Lover. The Bastion never able to contest on the payload, and I'll be curious to see what Sushi Lover wants to do in terms of that ultimate, because 14% is pretty close. We know the power of that Bastion ultimate. That late death's going to make it a bit hard for him to get up on the high ground, but if he gets on that high ground, he can have a lot of similar success that he had on the first point.
Well, they have managed to get back up to the high ground, and we see right there the Amp Matrix being placed down, and that shark, what was that Amp Matrix even doing up there away from the rest of the team? The May trying to take advantage of it, but that's a bungled old if I'd ever seen one.
Yeah, that's just, I don't know, maybe they are trying to fake out the side of Fresno State and you know, say, oh, we're over here, and maybe get them look in the wrong direction. Maybe there was some cheekiness involved with that Amp Matrix, because that was just, as you mentioned, just incredibly out there from left field in terms of where that was placed.
We also see Suguru also in that Baby Diva form, very close to remeching right now. We're just gonna wait to see here. They're caught in that little doorway, and they don't know where to kind of try to exit here. They're gonna try the Symmetra teleport there back onto the point that Reinhardt is gonna be met by his team, but was alone for a few seconds there. Now we're going to see if any ultimates are brought out here. There goes the Bastion over to the lower level there. And the Shatter is going to allow him to just tear through a very crucial immortality field, though. But it is not going to be enough, as all of the members of Colorado State just fall one after the other. Only Dio now. And they're just not having a good time.
Yeah, I mean, that was a great play by Sushi Lover to immediately realize he needed to get the immortality field taken out. And I mean, you're going to have one more attempt here for your Colorado State. You can lay down that photon barrier. Maybe you get a shatter if they come down to you. And if Dio can build that sound barrier up, you might have a pretty interesting fight. You're going to have probably 5 ults up for Colorado State, maybe even 6 versus 4 or 5 for the side of Fresno State. And Sushi Lover already taken out. That's a huge pick to start this fight for the Rams.
Well, so many ultimates are available, and as the clock ticks down, we just might see everyone pressing Q here. As there goes the Riptire. Photon Barrier is brought out. Now Sound Barrier coming online for Colorado State. Huge pick onto Pluto right there. Sound Barrier used by Dio here. And now here comes Sound Barrier out from Fresno State, as well as Amp Matrix. And this Bastion doesn't even need to use the tank. Now he's going to use the tank and fire across the bridge, trying to get some sort of pick onto there. Diva Bomb wasn't going to work there, only managed to take out the immortality field. And that was such a turnaround from Fresno.
Yeah, it was a great job there from Fresno State. Even with Sushi Lover getting picked early on, I was like, okay, this could be kind of concerning. But problem is that photon barrier just was put at the wrong angle so that Colorado State just couldn't stand behind it. And we'll get Bully Hunter our play of the game, probably behind one of his shatters. Yeah, right there when Colorado State was trying to push in. He gets a huge shatter, charges him out of the immortality field, even dodges the Diva Bomb. Quite the spectacular play. And I mean, I think Sushi Lover probably has an argument for well with that triple kill in the tank form.
It's been a while since I've seen a Bastion play of the game on the collegiate level, though. You see it all the time. You see it all the time in Bronze League, but on the collegiate level, not so much.
Yeah, I mean, it is one of those where you're like, yeah, he just sat there in turret form and just pumped out a lot of damage. So I mean, it is one
left click to win.
Exactly, it is one of those where you're like, hey, like, is the world really a worse place that we haven't seen Bastion plays of the game? No, probably not. But no, honestly, I thought Fresno State played that so well. They got a couple of bad picks, and just unfortunately for Colorado State, just you mentioned that Amp Matrix was kind of wonky, and then that photon barrier, if it was placed sideways across the payload, it probably would have worked a lot better than placing it behind the payload, because as soon as they pushed through, Fresno State just kind of shot them around the photon barrier, and it was just unfortunate placement.
Well, now the roles are reversed. Colorado State is going to have the choice of the next map. Now, last time that they picked, if I remember correctly, on the payload map, they chose, I am drawing a blank, which I feel ashamed for. Gibraltar, thank you. I feel a little ashamed for forgetting something that happened 20 minutes ago, but it happens. So Gibraltar, but that's kind of, that's Boise State's specialty. So without them in the equation, it could play completely differently.
Yeah, I mean, the only problem is they got kind of rolled on Watch Point Gibraltar. So do you really, trust that, things will go differently? I think you're totally right. It feels like we haven't seen many other teams try that strategy on Watchpoint Gibraltar. So it's definitely okay. I mean, so they're going to say, you know what? They believe that whatever they had in store for Boise State that did not work, they will actually be able to pull off against Fresno State. And I'll be very curious to see what Fresno State wants to do, because if the Bulldogs were watching that last matchup, there's no reason they would just try the exact same thing Boise State did and say, all right, can you counter it? But it is kind of one of those wonky strats that Boise State likes to have. So I'll be really interested to see how this map goes for Colorado State. We just really didn't get to see what the Rams had up their sleeve when they picked this map against Boise State.
Well, the real question is, do they stay on the payload, or do they make the mistake of going up to the second floor again?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to depend on kind of how Fresno State sets up defensively. We saw as soon as that map started, Colorado State immediately tried to go over to the high ground, and Boise State was just like, okay, we're not even over there. So, I mean, a lot of it we'll see how Fresno State plays. If they're up on that high ground, then it makes sense to, you know, kind of ignore the payload, go up on that high ground. So it is one of those interesting ones where I think Boise State comp completely changes how you would play the map, and so it's going to be very, very hard to base off that last game for this next game, because I don't foresee Fresno State playing a comp even close to Boise State. I think they'll just go pretty standard here. I don't even think we'd see we might see a May. I doubt we'd see a Sombra.
Well, we are going to get into that match very quickly right now. Boise State, I don't know if they really go to the third point, though. It really is kind of a thing of you either get caught under that bridge and don't make it to the first checkpoint, or it goes all the way to the third checkpoint and is a very close match in the end.
Yeah, that middle sort of hangar bay area is very, very tough because there's so many sight lines. It's hard to kind of hunker down defensively if you're in one place. That third point can be very hard to pick. We've seen Boise State get held there for quite a long time. But, yeah, you're right. It kind of feels like you either stall out at that first point or you get all the way to the 3 cap, and we might see some overtime here.
All right, let's get into it. This is Colorado State versus Fresno State here. Both teams are at 1 apiece, so whoever gets this one is going to go on to their match point. So we are going to at least see 2 CP be brought out. Hooray for us. But right now, it is Watchpoint Gibraltar. As the first ones to push are going to be Fresno State, who are still bringing out that Symmetra.
I think actually that's Colorado State in the red. With Country Road back in now. They're keeping ketchup only, but Country Road making his first appearance as well. So, I mean, it's going to be very interesting. The Nano from Dio is probably going to go into Mr. Right Click when he gets it. And like I said, I'm really curious to see what Colorado State had in store on this map. We'll see them attacking first. We see Fresno State in the blue. They're set up in a very more standard way that I think Colorado State will appreciate.
Yeah, they are not going into that room to try to hold the payload immediately. Payload isn't now it's being pushed right there. We also see it's going to be Anna and Country Road on the bottom level there. Now, do they all stay on the point here to try to push through, or do they meet Colorado State on the upper level?
I mean, I think you gotta meet
Fresno State on the upper level.
Yeah, Fresno State in the blue. I mean, you just gotta push. I mean, we see what happens if that payload gets stuck down there. So I think if you're Colorado State, you just kind of keep pushing, but there's also no shame in fighting up there, because if you win the fight, you will be able to push the payload. So I think they're kind of stuck where they want to go up there, but they're scared of what happened against Boise State to happen to them again. So Colorado State's very, very finicky right now. Finally, Mr. Right Click's going to go in and engage.
Well, now that they have that nano boost, that they think they're going to be able to push the damage through. But a great pick from Saguru back onto Mr. Right Click there. And Sherry is eliminated. So that res is not going to be a factor right now for Fresno State, as the hack comes on to KCV and quickly taken out Colorado State, though. Overall, managed to get past that trouble point and on to the first checkpoint.
Yeah, I'm very, very confused about why there's a Mercy with no sniper support. The Deadeye gets brought out, immediately stopped. I mean, I feel like Fresno State had something in mind and maybe they didn't agree on it, because I just don't see the point of the Mercy right now in this comp.
I was not expecting that Diva Bomb to get anybody, because it was so clearly on the point, and there were so many rooms that you could just duck behind, or even that, you know, but I guess it caught somebody off guard.
I mean, in the end, though, Colorado State absolutely popped off on this map. And there's got 4.5 minutes on the clock. They just ran right through Fresno State. Now Cherry will swap off over to that Lucio. So, I mean, overall, I think Colorado State kind of showing us why they picked this map against Boise State. It's a map they feel very comfortable on, and And it kind of caught Fresno State off guard. I mean, again, the Mercy was such a weird pick to me. I mean, what are you pocketing? Are you pocketing the Soldier? So, I mean, I like that Cherry's now on that Lucio. This is such a hard place to hold for the defenders because there's just so many sight lines and there's just so many ways the attackers can kind of just avoid you and push the payload.
And speaking of pushing the payload, they're more than halfway there. Colorado State is right now as Primal Rage is going to be used by Bully Hunter there. Still hasn't picked anyone up yet though, as it's on the he's on the upper level and Colorado State's down below.
Why are we fighting back here?
I don't know where we are.
We're back at the first capture point. Why are we going back there?
Okay, and why isn't anyone on the point right now? I am so confused right now.
Yeah, that was very, I mean, we're going to see a lot of ultimates. We get a Tac Visor, we get a Pulse Bomb from Fresno State. I mean, feels like Fresno State kind of disoriented Colorado State, and the Rams just got confused because, I mean, we went so far backwards. All Country Road had to do was just sit on the payload, and he probably could have pushed it a lot further. So a huge shout out to Fresno State, just kind of disorienting everybody involved.
Well, that disorient strategy costs them all their ultimates, though. The Diva Bomb is going to come on the line very quickly, but Colorado State is going to start out with the res and push through that tiny little door there. Now they're also going to use Nano Boost. Try to get some extra damage there. Mr. Right Click having Primal Rage coming online. There goes the Diva Bomb. It's going to be Sushi Lover, though, with the hack also onto 3 members of Fresno State. Remec coming through for Saguru. Not going to pick up anybody there, but Robin is able to take out Mr. Right Click. And it's a fierce fight in the spaceship in the center right now, but not going to find anybody.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we just see the weakness of Sombra there from Country Road. It's not his fault that you just get that EMP, but if your teammates don't have a follow-up, it doesn't really matter. You know, there's just kind of one of those like, hey, you're almost like a support as Country Road does get taken out. And I think with how open this second point is, Country Road probably needs to think about swapping over to something with a bit more oomph. Maybe a McCree, maybe a Soldier. Just Sombra's not going to have as much effectiveness on this wide open second point.
I also see Baby Diva up
he's
there.
going for the remake.
Oh, going for the remake. A sneaky remake here.
Nope.
It doesn't help.
They knew
Doesn't
that one.
work.
They saw that one coming from a mile away. And this Tac Visor from KCV is going to be what I want to watch out for here. Sushi Lover gets a great pick as they trade out the mech.
Well, Bully Hunter, before that Primal Rage can be used, is going to be taken out by Finish there. All Colorado State doesn't have is going to be, there goes another remake. Not going to pick up anybody. It's a battle of the divas in this narrow, and we're still not anywhere near the point. We're still fighting on the first checkpoint.
Yeah, Fresno State's done a really good job of just kind of forcing Colorado State to burn time fighting in the wrong location. And as soon as they nano Mr. Right Click for Colorado State, they might be able to start pushing, but into that Tac Visor and plus a sound barrier, it's going to be so hard for them to get a lot of forward momentum going.
Well, here comes the Diva Bomb out. Not going to pick up anybody right now. It's going to be Finished, taking out Suguru there. KC Vet also going very low, and it's going to be Hacks. Can't use the visor now. It's going to be Robin taken out by Mr. Right Click, picking up a double there. Actually, a Sushi Lover is able to take out Finish, so it is back and forth. The payload finally starts moving again, as we also saw Pulse Bomb being thrown out there, but a Sushi Lover taken out by Spoopy. Bully Hunter going to answer that back onto Dio. Still back and forth, but at least we're on the point almost to the very end right now. Saguru is going to take out Country Road. The Diva Mech also taken out by Bully Hunter. Now Baby Diva also taken out there. Colorado State having a really hard time pushing this. Does Fresno State actually hold them in the second point? Is that what we're really looking at right now?
I mean, there's going to be one last fight, and it's going to come down to, I mean, they have multiple ults, but Country Road's got to get a huge EMP. I don't think, if he can't find an EMP, I think Fresno State's going to take this.
Oh, it's a Tracer battle with all the disorienting camera work that comes from it. Well, now we have so many ultimates available to Colorado State. They're going to start it off with the rally, followed up by the Diva Bomb and the EMP, which isn't going to find anyone for Fresno State. Only one of their members got hacked, and KCV coming through by taking out Ketchup. It's into overtime right now. Cherry, very low on health, does manage to survive, though. And Colorado State, all of those ultimates, and what have they got to show for it? Well, both teams are 2 down right now. Sushi Lover able to take out Finish, and the Diva Mech there with that Pulse Bomb. And my goodness.
Yeah, that was a fantastic hold by Fresno State. Again, I go back to, they just burned so much time fighting away from the payload. I feel like Colorado State could have had multiple fights down there because with the payload being so close, Fresno State couldn't be the aggressor, but fantastic strategy by the Bulldogs to kind of have Colorado State run away from the payload, which was honestly just very, very hard for us to follow where they were going, and that was just a great strategy for the Bulldogs.
Okay, now the Bulldogs only need to make it to the second point to be able to take out the victory here.
I'll be very curious. I mean, I would assume Colorado State's going to go with a pretty standard comp like we saw them do against Boise State, and I'm really curious what Fresno State wants to do. If they're just going to try and jump up on that high ground, I mean, you see KCV on that Ash. He can absolutely rain down bullets. Again, Country Road on that Sombra just doesn't feel like it's it. I mean, I know he had a great couple moments against Boise State, but it's so hard. It loses. We saw it loses so much value once that first point is captured, and it doesn't really seem like he has any interest in swapping. That I think it's better to start off on something else.
Okay, now with only 10 seconds left, Fresno State is going to do a last-minute swap over to the Roadhog. Might be able to see how accurate that hook really is right now. As here they go, pushing out onto the point. Colorado State isn't going to go for the close hold. Instead, they start pushing the payload forward as normal. I think I saw one member out there, yeah, and they're thinking that there's one member off to the side looking for a flank.
And Colorado State's, for the most part, just holding up on that high ground, and they get an immediate pick on to catch up only, and I don't know why KCV's not being the one boosted by the Mercy. I don't know who Cherry's favoring right now. I think he's favoring the Winston, which is kind of interesting. There we go.
He's favoring, yeah, the Ash there. Yeah. So favoring the Ash, they have managed to push it out from under that bridge there. Trying to get up, is going to get hacked there by the Sombra. Has to flash away though, so is going to survive. Seguru is going to take out the Winston there. They are almost to the first checkpoint there. In a lot shorter time than it took the Rams to get there.
Colorado State did go pretty fast, so I really think it's going to come down to that second point, but unfortunately now things are starting to go awry. KCV doesn't have his pocket anymore, and you don't see that very often. You rarely see an Ash without a Mercy when there's a Mercy in the game, so Cherry's maybe a bit too liberal with how much he's spreading his healing around.
Okay, so Fresno State almost to the first point. Colorado State needs to hold them right here. They're only going to have the nano boost available to them right now.
They need the nano onto Mr. Right Click, and if he can get that, not only a ton of damage with that Tesla cannon, but then he can get that Primal Rage built up. I mean, it's going to be pretty strong. It's not they're just going to combine them together, which unfortunately he spent a lot of that time jumping into a wall. And
he's getting hit with the sleep dart there, followed by the hook, and that's kind of gutsy to have a Primal Rage Winston to hook. But now Colorado State does get a pick onto Sushi right there. Bully Hunter did get hacked, but now has Primal Rage available. Is going to get Nano, though, and go right onto the point trying to fight back there. And there goes the EMP, followed by the Diva Bomb. Only going to pick up Bully Hunter, though. Colorado State managing to get a defense here, though. They're going to stop them yet again.
I mean, I think this next fight for Fresno State is probably the one they're looking for. They're going to have the Primal Rage. They're going to have Bob. They're going to have that Valkyrie for aerial support from Cherry. As long as they handle that Deadeye, they should be perfectly fine here. And I mean, they're just going to have so many ults to throw at the Rams. It would be a very impressive defense if Colorado State can hold them here.
Well, okay, Fresno State has built up a lot of ultimates, though. They're going to have 4 available to them, so if they use them right, they should be able to at least get to the checkpoint here. But a well-placed pick could deny them one of those ultimates right now. You see they're going to be fighting on this upper level here, pushing CSU off the point. There goes Bob out there, and Pulse Bomb also going to be going on to finish there. Only thing is Deadeye coming out from CSU. It's not going to find anybody. Primal Rage and Valkyrie also used. Seguru taking out one, and Bully Hunter also, so both tanks get a pick. And Robin following that up onto Spoopy. That's going to get them the checkpoint they were looking for.
Yeah, they're not going to have nearly as much time as Colorado State had. Only 3 minutes on the clock to push this payload, and it's going to be very difficult for them because Colorado State should be able to set up a pretty strong defense here, and it's going to take a couple fights for the Fresno State to get as far as they need to go.
Well, now this should be that we were talking. This was, you know, a lot of people think this is the easy part to push forward through here. And Fresno State has managed to already get halfway here. Then they're managing to keep someone on the point there and not get pushed off. There goes Diva Bomb out from Zaguru, not finding anyone there. Spoopy also has the Diva. Is going to pick up one with the Diva remake, though, so it's going to take out Finish with that. Country Road taking out Sushi Lover, but Bully Hunter keeping the advantage going for the Bulldogs there. But a last-minute fight back here with the Primal Rage is going to be able to take out Cherry, but it's still being pushed through from Fresno here. But a Nano Boost is going to try to turn it around for the Rams. A Sleep Dart coming out from Mr. Right Click. Bob is being used by KCV. Has to be dealt with before the other members are. And still a very fierce fight on the team point right now.
Now, I just like what Fresno State did. They took what Colorado State gave them, which was about 70 meters on the payload push, and that's going to be a great place to start as we get a rally and Diva Bomb coming out.
Deep Bomb picking up Cherry, but only picking up that one right there. Now KCV Gaming able to take out Ketchup there. Fresno State should have the advantage. Diva Bomb coming out, not picking up anybody though. Colorado State managed to even it out there. Fresno State having so much trouble getting to the victory and this checkpoint here. Ketchup only is going to be using the Deadeye, taking out 3. Are you kidding me?
That was a fantastic Deadeye. I didn't even see where it came from Ketchup only, and clearly neither did Fresno State. I think the problem here is for Fresno State, they made a great first push. They needed to regroup. Instead, they kind of used that Bob to try and make up for a member who was dead, and then kind of just threw themselves at the payload. I think one solid push might have been the answer, but I think Colorado State's going to be able to hold here and put themselves on match point because they have the ult advantage by quite a lot.
Well, now here comes the EMP. It is available for Colorado State there. Can they get a pick onto all the members of Fresno State? Or get the EMP onto all the members of Fresno State. Rather, we do have Nano Boost coming out from Robin Ketchup, only taking out KCV Gaming there. Now Rally also used by Colorado State. EMP only onto 2 members of Fresno State. But with the picks coming on to Bully Hunter and Saguru and both tanks down, it might be enough for them. We only have about 6 seconds left, and Colorado State is firmly on the point. No contest, really. Diva Bomb thrown out by Spoopy on the point. Now overtime is ticking down. The Tracer's trying to get there, but is going to be taken out. And now it is just a stagger with Wrecking Ball trying to keep it going. Primal Rage is being used, though, by Mr. Right Click. Hit by the Sleep Dart, but quickly gets revenge for it onto the Ana there. And there goes the Diva there. Overtime is ticking down yet again. Can another member make it there? No!
Yeah, that was just a great job by Colorado State there. They played sort of that bend, don't break defense on point 1, especially where they forced Fresno State to take several minutes longer than they really thought they needed to. And then, I mean, we're going to finally get a view of this Deadeye because I was going to say it's...
I don't know where this came out from.
Actually, is this the right one? Yeah, he just comes out of spawn. Nobody sees him.
Wow.
Nobody sees him. When you kill a Diva with a Deadeye, you know you were absolutely in a spot that no one had a clue about, because that should be eaten up by a defense matrix any day of the week.
Well, now they have one more. They have one more map that they want to try to get there. It should be going to Assault, though, which can be pretty snowball-y. So if Fresno State just wants to close this out really fast, they can. It just matters on what Colorado State decides to choose instead.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting what I think it's Fresno State who's picking after losing that one. I would think Temple of Anubis is your most common one. I think Fresno State actually beat Boise State on Temple of Anubis as well. So that would be, if my memory serves me right, there's 100% Fresno State would pick Temple of Anubis, because if you beat Boise State, you got to love your chances against Colorado State.
Well, now Fresno State has to... But Boise State would like that rematch up against Colorado State if they manage to meet them again, because Boise State is going to be second seed. So if Colorado State wins again, we could be seeing that easy matchup for Boise State, which they would love to get through the semifinals. But that is if Colorado State manages to pull out the win here and make it go to Game 5.
I mean, I think it's my job here to remind people that Boise State does really good in the regular season, and unfortunately in the playoffs for a lot of games in the Mountain West.
Yeah.
It's gone the opposite way. So just because you 3-0'd Colorado State in the regular season doesn't mean anything for the playoffs. So, I mean, either of these teams will be a tough match. I think you're right. I think Boise State has to still be rooting for Colorado State on the fact that, yes, it appears on paper that it would be the easier matchup. They beat the Rams 3-0. They only beat Fresno State 3-2. So I 100% agree with you, Jem. But the playoffs are a different animal, and if there's any school that knows that, unfortunately, it's Boise State. But right now, between Colorado State and Fresno State, I think they're less focusing on who has to play Boise State. They're focusing on, one, making the playoffs, because that is huge. I mean, there is a logjam of teams at 3-3. And who doesn't have to play UNLV? Because Boise State can be beatable. UNLV has not shown a single sign of weakness so far. They are 3-0ing everybody in this league. They are proving that they are still the best team. They are two-time champs defending. I think there's a lot more focus on how do we not play UNLV? And they don't really care who they play. They can play, a professional Overwatch team. They just don't want to play UNLV.
Now we're going to wait for the choice to come through here on Assault to see which map they chose. We have seen a lot of Temple of Anubis, but Hanamura's been a popular pick as well. The pick is going to be Hanamura.
Yeah, Hanamura is a very interesting one. I know we saw a lot of that last night for our Missouri High School one. It is still a very, very snowbally map, but that first point can be incredibly difficult to capture, and I think a lot of teams can fall into that trap, and I'm very, very worried about Colorado State especially. Symmetra's going to be really good because we can teleport behind the enemy team, and they're going to just run that over and over, and you're going to just say, we know exactly where the teleport's coming. I really almost just want to say, I know kind of Overwatch, they tried banning, they got rid of it. I want to ban Symmetra and Sombra from Colorado State. I just want to do not play those. Like Country Roads, you played great on Watchpoint Gibraltar. I think you could have been better if you were maybe any other hero. Because Sombra just does not have that DPS edge that you need. And I really just wish I could ban those two because I think Colorado State leans a lot, way too heavily on those sort of supporty aspects that Symmetra and Sombra bring. And I think it's kind of their downfall a little bit when they have struggled against Fresno State.
Yeah, they really seem to just try to, really say that we're going to make this work here, and it seems like maybe it's something they're trying to improve on or a strategy they're trying to perfect, but that would seem something more that you would try in scrims or something, or something more in practice rather than toward the end of the season.
If you feel like you need that utility ultimate that the EMP brings, just bring May. Just bring May. I mean, Blizzard does the exact same thing, and when you throw down a Blizzard, May can actually pick up some kills if you just headshot the people who are frozen with the icicles. I mean, when Sombra gets an EMP, sure, she can just shoot him in the head with her SMG, but besides that, I mean, there's no real oomph to the EMP. So, yeah, if you think you need that supporty DPS, if you think you need that sort of half DPS, half support, just pick May. Bring May instead of Sombra because I haven't seen him get any great jaw-dropping individual hacks. He's gotten a couple good ones, but that EMP, I mean, on Hanamura, especially that second point, depending on how the other team spreads out, could be absolutely useless.
Well, is Colorado State going to stick on, try to stick on and make that Sombra composition work? Are they going to try Symmetra? We're going to find out in a few seconds here.
Yeah, and we will see a sub in for both teams, actually. Looks like Pluto will now be in for Ketchup only on the side of Colorado State, and it does look like we'll get Sliver back in on what I thought was his normal role. We've seen him on Tank as well tonight. He's going to be back on that Lucio for Fresno State in that support role. So curious if we get a couple of swaps coming out, and I'll be curious to see how those guys who've been riding the bench for a little bit, how they play in a very, very important game for both these teams because Colorado State would love to win this series right here, and Fresno State, they need to get to a Game 5 if they want any chance of finishing third in the Mountain West. We see here, looks like, you know what? I'm happy. Colorado State does not have the Symmetra. They do not have the Sombra. They are defending, I believe, but the fact they did not bring the Sombra makes my life, just makes me a little bit more happy.
Well, it's more of those things of at least you'll have that to be happy with, Fish, and regardless of how the match turns out there. We see Finish here trying to get some damage down there onto Fresno State. One of the members looked like might have been trying to, okay, just a little bit of healing there onto the point. I thought one of the members might have sneakily teleported onto there, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen as Colorado State taking a whole lot of damage. It's managed to heal it up, though.
Yeah, Sushi Lover tried the back flank on Symmetra, got found out immediately, was taken out. KCV now on this Reaper will also fall, and now look for an Ant Matrix right on that window, and now you got to May wall it off if you're Pluto.
Now here comes the Amp Matrix. It isn't being walled off, and instead Fresno State is using it. Mr. Right Click is taken out, quickly followed by Finish there. They have managed to push onto the point now. Fresno State manages to get one tick there. They are getting a little bit of contest there, but they're keeping the eliminations going. Both, we see, one tank, one DPS, and one support taken out. Now the other DPS taken out by Sushi there. That's going to be the third point for them.
Yeah, and I mean, it all fell apart when Pluto missed the May wall on the Ant Matrix. It's one of the best ways to shut down an Ant Matrix is to May wall right by it so you can't get that value. Instead, Fresno State, or Colorado State, just tried to line of sight it, couldn't quite get behind it in time, and that just allowed Fresno State to sneak right under, push the point, and now you got that high ground with that EMP, or with that Ant Matrix and that, I even think they're going to still be on the Sombra, but the Ant Matrix could have come in huge here.
Well, we do see Amp Matrix being thrown down there as well as Shatter. They're not wasting any time there pushing to this second point. We do see two ultimates there, the Deadeye and the Amp Matrix trying to be used in response there. Deadeye is only going to pick up Sushi Lover there. We also see the Reaper going over to the other side, trying to pick up one of the members of Colorado State there. Country Road very low on health, being healed back up by the Baptiste now. Now Fresno State manages to push to the point. They use Graviton Surge. Is there going to be a follow-up in damage? There is indeed. And they're going to take the second point very quickly, but the respawn is what they have to fight against.
If they take out Spoopy here, they're going to be able to at least get one tick. Might be able to get two. Yeah, they will. Now, if you're Colorado State, you can't wait. You got to go in. They're going to get one last fight with a Deadeye and a Death Blossom.
Man, Fresno State, with that Lucio beat, managing to stay alive there. They're going to be getting to the third tick right now. Mr. Right Click, a last-minute swap onto Hammond is going to try to keep it going there. We also see Doomfist trying to come out there onto Colorado State, and Dio trying to keep it going, but it is one against a whole lot more members as Robin is able to take out Dio there. That's going to be Fresno State taking the round very quickly.
Yeah, they just kind of, I mean, we talked about it. I mean, that is the snowbally nature of 2CP. You can turn one fight victory into an immediate win on the second one. It's really not much Colorado State could do, and it's, you know, just a little unfortunate they missed that May wall, because, I mean, we just saw everything that happened because they couldn't stop an Ant Matrix on point one. Now I'll be curious to see what Colorado State wants to do, because that is a very tough time to match, and that, you know, 3 minutes 54 seconds, we could see maybe a overtime here, but Colorado State's got to be careful. They could not fall into that Symmetra trap.
Well, here we go again. Colorado State, all of the pressure is on them now. They need this to win, so the best that they can do is try to push this on to overtime. And they are going to be pulling out the Symmetra teleport there, so the question is we've seen a real hesitancy from both of these teams to really swap off of a hero once the initial push wears off. And that's really going to be the question right now, is do they stick on the Symmetra if their first play doesn't work?
I mean, I think if the first play doesn't work, but you can get to about 50 to 70% charge, that's fine. Because Photon Barrier, especially with the teleport on a 2CP map, can have a lot of value. You can get yourself a couple ticks, because that's what you're really going for on 2CP. Can you get a couple ticks here, reset, get a couple more ticks, and then you can eventually keep pushing. So I'm fine with Country Road if his first one doesn't work, but he can get to 40-50%, trying it again. But you got to be able to swap if it doesn't work repeatedly.
Now here we go. They're going to use the teleport. They are toward the point, but Fresno State is meeting them right on the point, not allowing them on any way. And there you go, the pick onto Mr. Right Click there. Just forcing them off again. Spoopy not able to get away, is in fact just going to go off the side, and they're all going to commit to a reset.
All right, 33%. Now's when I just swap. Teleporter didn't work. Don't try it again. Just swap off. Be very curious. I mean, they kind of tried the less in-your-face teleporter and the more just sneak around. Now you can maybe drop a May wall right exactly where Bully Hunter is standing almost. Go to that left side of your screen where Bully Hunter's kind of standing again, and then sneak around and maybe teleport on. But again, that Symmetra's got maybe one more chance, and then you've got to pick something else. Here we go.
Well, they're going to try again there. They managed to at least get onto the point this time. Bully Hunter is going to use the Shatter, and that's a huge Shatter onto Colorado State, and yet again they are pushed off. One turret pick is going to have to be some solace for them, though, as the Maywall is going to go up defensively, and Amp Matrix is thrown down there. They're using all their ultimates to try to keep this push going. Finish managing to take out Bully Hunter. They might have indeed actually been able to turn it around here.
Yeah, unfortunately for, as jaw-dropping and as, maybe top 5 worthy as that Shatter was, they didn't get a single elimination out of it. They actually lost a member to the Symmetra turrets from it. So, again, it's one of those cases we've seen it a lot recently. Ryan just being over aggro and shattering just for the sake of shattering.
Yeah, without that follow-up there. And also that they had 2 opportunities to follow it up, really, because they had the Shatter and then they had the Graviton Surge, too. And they just didn't follow that up with any meaningful damage. And that allows Colorado State to be able to keep their hopes alive. Get onto the point here. Amp Matrix thrown down, and the help from that, as well as those Symmetra turrets. All of those eliminations piling up. They managed to pick up 1 point and now going for their second.
Yeah, it is unfortunate that it cost them the Blizzard. That is definitely not what you wanted for Colorado State in terms of snowballing material. Also, the fact that Sliver does have the sound barrier available is going to make it very hard to get a photon barrier into a Deadeye.
And there goes the Deadeye Lucio beat as well, and there goes the Shatter. But still not picking up any members of Colorado State there. And Country Road now gets the first pick onto Bully Hunter there. Colorado State also picking up Saguru as well. They might be able to get this point if they can take it in the next few seconds as Pluto takes out KCV. Sushi Lover managing to even it up, though, with a double there, and Sliver following that up with a double of his own with Bully Hunter as well. And that looked like it might have been Colorado State able to take the point there, but Fresno State managing to hold on.
Yeah, unfortunately for Colorado State, once you start losing members, your likelihood and your chances of getting a cap on 2CP just drops dramatically with every single death you take. So that was unfortunate that they couldn't get at least 1 pick to start. They're going to have a Shatter, but with how much high ground and how spread out teams can be, there's a lot of pressure on Mr. Right Click to use this at the appropriate time.
Well, here goes the Amp Matrix being set down by Robin there. That is definitely playing into Colorado State's mind there as they're going to take this alternate route there. Not going to be able to go up. They actually just went off to the side, waited for that to run out there. Shatter being used by Mr. Right Click, but only the Immortality Field is going to be taken out. Sushi Lover is able to pick up the Diva mech, though, with that Deadeye, so now it's going to be Baby Diva out. And the Amplification Matrix being used by Finish there.
What?
Huh?
No one's on the point!
What?
They just 3-capped while Fresno State just stood there.
What is going on?
What?
Okay, what is going on with these two teams and point management?
Maybe this pause might explain. Maybe somebody had. Maybe we just had a DDoS attack at Fresno State. Because I was like, okay, bad Shatter, but you get a point. That's fine. Okay, then you get a second tick, and I'm like, okay, that's really weird. Just never a single contest. And it wasn't like they got wiped. Fresno State had 4 people alive, at least. I'm really hoping that pause, they can explain some stuff, but that's really awkward.
I don't know. They got a lot of explaining to do.
It's going to be hard to say, like, oh, well, we lagged. Can we restart? Like, no.
No,
sorry.
That's not how this works.
So, yeah, that. Wow. That was insane. That is wild. I mean, we were told that the observers do have chat turned off. I mean, for obvious reasons, we don't want to get somebody saying something they shouldn't say. So maybe we missed a call for a pause when they were asking for it. But I mean, if you're Fresno State and you did, I mean, maybe you have an internet issue in the Fresno area. That is going to be really tough because you did unfortunately get overtime forced. Like if they only got 2 ticks and the pause came out, you're able to contest. Man, that is going to be a very, very tricky situation. I think we're just going to have to go to overtime. Fresno State, I do believe is going to have the time advantage. I was honestly so distracted I didn't keep track of the time. I think it'll be very, very close in terms of time, but that is very unfortunate. Whatever just happened for Fresno State. Colorado State's like, okay, but that was crazy.
I was still focusing on the team fight there. That just you don't capture the point while the team fight is still going at 5v5. It's just unless we saw what happened on Gibraltar, which we did see a lot of shenanigans there with where Fresno State was fighting. So I don't know if that was a pause error, but I wouldn't be surprised if that was actual gameplay because Fresno State managed to divert the entire fight onto the first point of Gibraltar too.
Yeah, I feel like with the pause coming out right when that ended, I do have to think that somebody for Fresno State or maybe the whole team, like I said, I mean, when you're all at school together, I mean, if there's an internet outage affecting the local area, there's only so much you can do. I mean, especially I know some of the apartment complexes around Boise have some issues, so if some of the players live on the same apartment complex, same floor, even some of them are maybe roommates, it can really take what looked like, one guy's lagging can immediately become 3 or 4 in college. I mean, we're all trying to save money. You know, you put 4 people in a 3-bedroom house, we're not going to judge you. I've been there. So I'm very, very curious to see if we're able to resume the map, which I'm really hoping we are. I'm hoping that it's not one of those like, hey, the main internet provider for Fresno State has gone down. We'll hopefully get it back soon. But that is just so rough for Fresno State because there's no telling what would have happened because there was a great shatter to at least get 1 tick. I think that first tick was a lot on the back of that shatter from Colorado State. The rest of it, who knows? That's going to be a very, very interesting situation that the Mountain West is going to have to sort out.
I wouldn't want to be the person trying to decide what happens right now because it's one of those things where it's like you're not going to make you're going to anger somebody.
Yeah. I mean, you probably have to accept that we're going to overtime. I mean, it's unfortunate that that's how it's going to be, but I mean, you basically kind of going to overtime in theory does kind of just reset the map if you're being honest. So that is kind of nice that we just kind of say, all right, we'll reset the map. It is in overtime though. I do think Fresno State has a time advantage. I do think that they are about 30 to 40 seconds ahead. We will see when we get back into the game. Hopefully still trying to see what that pause was all about. So, I mean, it's probably the best case scenario for both sides where it's like, hey, we're kind of just resetting the map. It's still in overtime, but what a wild Mountain West game we have here. I mean, talk about Pac-12 after dark. This is Mountain West after dark right now. This has been a crazy series between these two teams.
I wouldn't have expected an event like this.
Wow.
And Boise State set it up so well for us at the beginning. You know, it was just a quick – it was just a quick 3-0. You know, we were in, we were out. Yep. It was like, you know, the Overwatch at fast food speed. You know, it was just a quick map, and now everything here, people are fighting on point 1 when they're supposed to be fighting on point 2. We're having disconnects. It's quite the fight for third place right now.
Yeah, I mean, this goes a long way. I mean, you know, for San Jose State has you know, something at stake in this game. So does Utah State. Both those teams are 3-3. They're tied with Fresno State. Colorado State at 3-2. Does sound like we're been told that it was Bully Hunter who had the issue for Fresno State and did disconnect, which is your main tank, could potentially be your in-game leader who would be making those calls. And of course, the other thing would be, you know, you could say, oh, well, if one guy disconnected, how could no one else go on the point? Everyone else is probably typing in chat, pause, 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 pause. So then they're distracted. So, I mean, it is one of those things. It's just a very unfortunate circumstance. Hopefully, Bully Hunter's able to get back online. I would hate to see, you know, as a team, a game of this magnitude be decided on a forfeit. And so I hope we get back. We can just reset the overtime and be as clean as possible in terms of going forward with this match. With just a crazy set of circumstances there on Hanamura.
Yeah, I don't know. If we I don't know if we necessarily take a break here or we just wait for them to load back in or what the judge's decision is going to be. But the thing is like we still haven't gotten to the game 5, which is still a very real possibility at 100%. This point.
I mean, the way Fresno State played, it's trending in their direction. If Bully Hunter is able to get back and being able to play at a latency that is comfortable to him, I would say that Fresno State is probably favored 60-40 going into overtime, depending on how time works out, because they absolutely dominated on this map, and Colorado State, you know, was struggling a little bit more, especially capturing that second point. So that means Game 5 is a total possibility, and that just raises so many more questions. You know, how stable is the internet? I mean, it is, you know, we're trending down towards the bottom of the hour here at 9 o'clock. I mean, it's finals week here for Boise State. I don't know how the academic calendar shape up for those schools. It's going to be a very, very interesting time here to figure out how quick we can get back in the game, and if there's a game 5, you know, what happens in that game? Because both these teams, I mean, it's kind of been one of those, you know, back and forth boxing matches where you slug one guy, he falls down, staggers, and then stands right back up and gives you one right on your left cheekbone. So it's been a knockout fight between these two teams who both want to get in those playoffs at the end of the season, because we're getting there. It's only 9 games in the regular season. We're on, you know, I think the second to last week, honestly. Maybe the third to last week.
It's going to be surreal, though, with this Mountain West tournament still going on and Boise State having already had their finals week.
Yeah, that's going to be just crazy. I mean, it's going to be into late May. I mean, who knows how many other schools that's affected, because, I mean, then you get like, oh, you know, what's that at-home internet look like? You know, does mom understand, you know, that, you know, you can't pause this one. You can't just leave this solo queue game to come down for dinner.
The championship is decided because mom doesn't realize you can't pause the game.
I'm assuming that all the parents of these kids are totally supportive. I mean, especially when they're on scholarship, then mom and dad are like, oh, woohoo, you're saving me money. We don't care. So looks like we are going to reset it. We are going to go into overtime.
Okay.
And that minute time difference is going to be really, really tight. So I think that Fresno State has the advantage, and I think we probably go into a game 5, but we'll see what Colorado State has in mind.
Well, Fresno State is going to be the first ones here. Colorado State, well, what they have, are they going to try the Symmetra teleport again?
I mean, it worked for them.
It worked after one, but it took one failed attempt, too. They were stopped in the first attempt, and time matters so much more here in overtime.
I mean, really the goal here for overtime on 2CP, if you're attacking first, has got to be capture point A and 1 tick on B. You do that, I think you're happy with your result if you're Colorado State. And you get a little smiley Easter egg there. So, I mean, that's what you got to do. You got to get this teleport out fast. They're going to go to the opposite direction, too.
Well, some of them managed to get through, but it is destroying. The May wall is going to separate them as well. But they still have managed to survive thanks to that Immortality Field, which is now taken out by Bully Hunter and Seguru, taking out Country Road. Dio, Immortality Fields, all gone for both teams now as Mr. Right Click, followed by Finish, is taken out. That's going to stop them right there. And they're going to have just a little bit over a minute to try again.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great job by Fresno State. They 100% expected that teleport play. They countered it immediately with a great May wall. That is a huge stagger onto Spoopy. And this is probably where, I mean, at this point, honestly, Symmetra is probably just the right play because it's the only play. But I think that Fresno State's looking at the goose eggs across the board when they start attacking, because Colorado State's going to be very, very hard-pressed to capture this in 60 seconds.
Well, they're trying again. It worked for them the second time last time on the Symmetra teleport, but they're all split up right now. We see Pluto is just going to have to use it. Is it going to even get to this? It's not working.
No, and they walked right into a shatter from Bully Hunter as well. They hit 3 of them. They'll get one last attempt.
Well, okay, third time's the charm, I guess. But why is Spoopy still peeking around the corner? I would have tried to at least get back to spawn right there, but that's going to stagger them out a good number of seconds and give them even less time to push.
Yeah, and then they're going to be going into grab as well. I mean, this is going to take a very, very impressive teleporter from Country Road to make this work.
Well, they're going to try, or they're just going to try the old-fashioned way. There goes the Amp Matrix placed down there. I mean, it is even, they have managed to get to the point. The May wall stops them. There is one on the point, though, so it still goes into overtime. Graviton Surge as well as Blizzard is being brought out, as well as Amp Matrix there. And Dio is taken out there. There goes a shatter from Colorado State, but it is not going to turn around the fight as Mr. Right Click is taken out by KCV. We do see Maywell trying to keep it going, trying to keep it alive. But you just got to stop right there. It doesn't work out. And now Fresno State. Fresno State only needs just 1 tick.
Yeah, and I mean, unfortunately, I feel like Colorado State played their hand with that teleporter because they picked almost the exact location that worked for them in regulation. They just went to the other side of the map. So I think that they would have been better off without that Symmetra. And now Fresno State, 3 minutes. It's going to go by quick, but it's going to seem like an eternity for Colorado State to defend. And I'll be curious if the Bulldogs try for their own teleporter play or if they just kind of try and just run it down mid in a sense and just straight run onto the point and just try and brute force their way to a capture.
Well, they're not going to bring out any Symmetra for it. They're just going to probably try to run it down. Lucio speed boost.
Sushi Lover still has to pick. They were probably debating, honestly, if they wanted to do it. And he's going to pick on the McCree. So, yeah, looks like it'll just be the Lucio speed boost to just straight hold W and try and make sure you don't get caught on the wrong side of the May wall.
It seems like that was probably going to be a bit, that would have been a bit too cheeky if they had brought out the Symmetra as well. You know, kind of just like a statement as showing Colorado State, this is how you do it. And then they get held for 3 minutes, 7 seconds. So.
Yeah, it's definitely a trap you can fall into.
Well, they're going to swap over to Bastion.
That would go well with a teleporter. No, okay. We should have some fun with it.
Sushi, I know you're trying to have fun. We've been through too much this has just been too much of a weird match here to really pull out shenanigans like that. Well, Mr. Right Click's going to be the first one taken out by KCV. Fresno State continues to push forward as they're just Colorado State is just folding here. In Country Road, the only thing they managed to get is to take out KCV, but it is not enough. There's almost one tick there. Lucio tries to get on the point to stretch it out. Not going to work, and we're going to Game 5.
Yeah, fantastic effort for Fresno State to be able to rally after that disconnect, set the game to overtime, and just absolutely take care of business. And now I'll be curious if we get Nepal or if we get Lijiang as our final map. We get our play of the game here from Seguru. Just throw down the grab, decent charge, and you just kind of spam your abilities, and there's really no answer for Colorado State. Well, there's no sound barrier for a grab. You lose 99% of the time.
Well, now we move on to game number 5 of all the options. We have Lijiang Tower. Busan is available though. I don't think there are any maps banned, correct? So Busan could be another one.
Yeah, Lijiang, Busan, Nepal. I mean, it's going to be interesting. I mean, Colorado State has, for the most part, won on the maps that they have picked, especially on Watchpoint Gibraltar. So I'll be very curious. They won the first control map in pretty dominant fashion, too, as well, which was just Oasis by default. So I'm going to be very curious to see how this control map goes. It will be Lijiang as our last pick here. And hard to say, really. I mean, that first control went totally the way of Colorado State. I'm wondering if Fresno State was maybe caught off guard about just how strong the Rams were. So I would expect this to be a lot closer on Lijiang.
Yeah, it should be. Colorado State, though, had a lot of strength in the first match, though. And they were able to take it pretty easily, not allowing Fresno State to even get any sort of charge in the first map on Oasis. So if there's any one mode that would probably favor them, I would wager that it would be control.
I mean, the second map did go down to 99-99 and then flipped back. So I do think that, you know, especially, it's hard to say. I don't know if Fresno State had another game scheduled tonight, but it's one of those where Colorado State did come off a game where they had just played. They were a little bit more warmed up. Fresno State, if they're coming in cold, maybe that first map, you know, you're just kind of, you know, getting the cobwebs out. You're trying to get back in the feel of things. So I would expect a 3-gamer here. I would be highly shocked if either team 100-0 somebody. And it's a tough call. I really think it's going to come down to whatever Country Road plays. If Country Road, yes, there are abilities on some of these maps. Lijiang in particular, there's a couple. I think Market's the one where you can definitely bring out a Symmetra. If he gets stuck trying to pull Symmetras out on other maps or gets stuck trying to play Sombra, I favor Fresno State. So a lot of it's going to come down to what Country Road plays and how well he plays it.
Yeah, does he manage to be able to choose something that works, or does he, you know, try to, you know, does he try to force his pick into the comp?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, there are maps on Lijiang where Symmetra has a viable option, but that Sombra is the one I'm worried about. And also, I mean, when you start losing fights, the regain to get back to the point and try and take back control with that Symmetra can be very, very tricky because the enemy team's going to spot it out. They're going to be set up. It's going to be very, very interesting to me to see how this Game 5 goes. Like I said, I think we're going 3 games. I would give Fresno the slightest of edges, but, I mean, I'm talking like 199 on Game 3 kind of edges.
That probably is the biggest thing that I would say. Like, if there's one major takeaway from the match tonight, it is is kind of the stubbornness on not willing to swap off something that really isn't working. We've just been seeing too many attempts on trying to make the Symmetra work after the first attempt fails. We even saw, if I believe, back on Eichenwald, we saw the Bastion still being used after he was taken out. And there's some justification there in the terms that the tank ultimate was ready. But if you're really, you know, trying to play at the highest level, it's no ultimate is worth having their own comp. And so I think sometimes both of these teams kind of just get sidetracked and just staying on what they want to work, but it's obviously not working out.
Yeah, and I mean, we're going to see, like I said, this is the map where I think Symmetra has some of the most value, so we're going to see 2 teleports come out here, and I really am going to be curious to see who gets established first, and especially if Pluto can get on that point and just kind of freeze people in place on that May. Colorado State might have a nice start here. They're going to get onto the point at the exact same time. Yeah, it was going to be a race to see who could use the teleport better, but both of them were even in that regard, and it is back and forth in terms of the ultimates. Look at all the Symmetra eliminations there. It's going to be Seguru, though, who is able to get the slight advantage for Fresno State and pull off the team wipe. Yeah, now it's going to be very, very difficult for Colorado State here because you're going to see it. Country Road's going to have all of those turrets set up, and also since the teleport wasn't taken out, it allowed the slain members of Fresno State to just get back onto the point freely. So now you got to be a lot more careful where you put that Symmetra teleporter if you're Country Road. Yeah, and they still aren't swapping off the Symmetra. They still think yeah, it's not working. I mean, the Symmetra's not bad here. You just got to be a little bit more creative with your teleporting spots. Well, the Reinhardt does manage to get out, but is just going to be mowed through by that Reaper. Sushi Lover also getting another double onto Spoopy and Country Road. Colorado State, reset again, try again. They'll have the Photon Barrier up for this next fight. Sushi Lover will have his as well, so we might get dueling Photon Barriers. Other than that, I mean, Shatter. Whoever gets the better Shatter between Mr. Right Click and Bully Hunter probably determines that map, and that is a whiff for Bully Hunter. Yeah, nothing going to be picked up by that Shatter. Amp Matrix thrown down. Mr. Right Click managing to take out Silver. Dio following that up with KCV, and that might just be a little bit too late for that Photon Barrier as Fresno State has already found themselves at a disadvantage. It's going to be both Photon Barriers actually in Amp Matrix, and there goes another Shatter from Mr. Right Click there. Able to pick up Sushi Lover and Robin. Also Bully Hunter. That's going to be a triple for him and a taken point for Colorado State. Very unfortunate that we had the camera on Bully Hunter, who's just charging around while you hear the enemy Shatter come out. That's just very unfortunate timing. We're sorry. We did not mean to put you on blast like that. And now here comes the challenge for Fresno State. We saw Sushi Lover's first teleporter, or we mean Country Road's first teleporter on the regain get absolutely obliterated. Where does Sushi Lover try and place his? Does he have a creative spot that Colorado State might not be expecting? Oh, look at that boop there, followed by the gravitic flux there. Uh-oh. Oh. Uh-oh. Okay, manages to... well, Lucio can get back there, I assume, but they are all on that edge, vulnerable to that boop. And Robin is going to find himself booped off the edge. But they're fighting back. Bully Hunter picking up a double, and there's a huge Shatter. And the follow-up there from the Reaper is just a little bit too late. The Maywall does manage to go up for some defense. There goes the Sound Barrier, and another Shatter coming through from Mr. Right Click there. Is able to pick up KCV. And a very long, drawn-out fight still manages to end in a Colorado State hold. And that was a huge Shatter for Mr. Right Click because he actually was able to stop the Death Blossom as KCV had started using it because he had gotten that sound barrier from Sliver. He felt safe. So if that Shatter had not been used, I think Fresno State might have actually been able to take that point back. And now we'll get a couple of Photon Barriers and probably maybe an Amp Matrix for Fresno State. And that's about it in this next fight. Fresno State taking it back. Photon Barrier being used. Photon Barrier also available for Country Road. It's going to be thrown out there, as well as Primal Rage and Amp Matrix. That Primal Rage throw and finish right off the edge, and those turrets are going to be able to take out Country Road. Pluto following shortly afterwards, and Fresno State is going to force Colorado State into dire straits right here. They got to get back to the point. Can the Wrecking Ball make it? No, he can't. Yeah. Colorado State just lost that by giving up the point for free. They let Fresno State flip it with everybody alive. I don't know if they maybe got baited out by a teleporter or what happened, but Colorado State completely evacuated the point. And because of that, when Fresno State flipped it, all they had to do was win the fight. If Colorado State stays on, doesn't lose the point until they lose that fight, they probably have a chance for a recontest. So very, very interesting for Colorado State. I did not see what happened. They just kind of were back on the back side of the point from the other side of our camera, and the point just flipped without anyone contesting it. That was very, very interesting. And now we see Sushi's going to try this Symmetra. Never mind, he'll swip off. This is what I'm talking about, though. I just don't like the Sombra on this map if I'm Country Road. You got to try something else. Not Symmetra. Maybe a McCree, maybe a Tracer, but definitely not Sombra.
Well, we'll just have to see. That's been Colorado State's statement. They want to try these things, and they're going to try to make them work no matter what happens here. Seguru did get hacked there, but it's going to be Mr. Right Click who's taken out first by Sushi Lover. So an advantage to Fresno State. They need to push on to the point here. Sleep Dog's not going to find anybody. Sushi Lover and Bully Hunter able to take out 2. Now make it 3 and 4 as Fresno State pushes on to the point and takes it first.
Yeah, just a great start here for Fresno State. I mean, they're so far ahead in their ults as well. I mean, it's only the Coalescence above 40% for Colorado State. I mean, they're not going to have an answer for this Primal Rage. They're probably not going to have an answer for this grab that Bully Hunter's going to have. I mean, Fresno State set up to just kind of snowball this map and find themselves a victory that they desperately need.
Well, there goes a hack onto Robin. They're not going to be taken out by it, though. Coalescence being used by Finish. Seguru bringing out the Primal Rage, and that Pulse Bomb is going to take out Finish. Mr. Right Click knocked off the edge by that Primal Rage, and Bully Hunter taking out Pluto. Fresno State has turned it around yet again and still takes the point.
Yeah, now the concern here for Colorado State is going to be you do not have an answer for that grab. Your sound barrier is only at 52%. You just used the Coalescence that kind of would have been your, you know, bargain bin answer to grab. So if Bully Hunter gets a good grab, this is an easy fight win, and then you're looking at maybe 2 more fights for Colorado State.
Well, there goes the grab right next to the wall. There is going to take Spoop be there. Nano Boost also coming out from Robin there. Mr. Right Click Spoopy, and it's going to be a quick follow-up there by the rest of the members of Fresno State. Taking out Colorado State again. They still need to get some sort of charge on this point.
Yeah, the only thing that Fresno State can really do here to cost themselves is they would be committing all 4 of these ultimates in this fight and then winning so quickly that Colorado State gets another attempt with ult advantage. So if you're Fresno State, you either stall this out and commit all your ults at the very end, or you have to make sure you stagger the 4 you have in your back pocket.
Well, there goes another Primal Rage almost off the edge. Now is knocking other members off the edge there. There goes the Diva Bomb, and the hack is at the same time. That is going to take out 3, and that's the Rams opening right there. Mr. Right Click using that Primal Rage, pushing Seguru off the point there. It's being focused down, is taken out by Country Road, and not a moment too soon, the Rams take the point.
I mean, that is the power of the EMP. I mean, when you can combine it with something like a Diva Bomb, and we saw this a ton for Boise State and for some other teams, it's almost impossible to stop as long as the Diva Bomb's placed right. So a huge shout out to Country Road and Spoopy combining. Now the question is, until those EMP bomb comes up, how do you defend this point? You got a Death Blossom v Death Blossom, so if you can CC KCV and give your own Reaper a chance, you've got a chance to win this fight.
And the hack is going to come right on there onto KCV. Not going to make that much of a difference. There goes Dio using the sound barrier there. Going to go up to the upper level, try to get them from behind. There goes Dio with a boop off of the edge onto Seguru. Fresno State is going to find themselves down 1 and might just have to reset here, but they're going to still go onto the point there. There goes Graviton Search from Bully Hunter, and Robin's going to use that Nano Boost there. Sushi Lover is going to be the one taken out, however, with Finish getting that one. Oh, with the Coalescence, and now Dio is taken out as well. So it's 2. It was a support from both of them, but Fresno State ultimately falls.
Unfortunately for Fresno State, KCV just was trying too hard for that perfect Death Blossom, that play of the game, 5-man Death Blossom. Just got to throw it out there, man. You had several chances. You had an early sound barrier from Dio. I think that Fresno State's going to be heavily favored in this next fight with 4 ults to maybe 2, maybe 3. But if Country Road can build up this EMP, it's a winnable fight.
Well, there goes a very crucial boop off of the edge there. And Fresno State, do they have enough time to reset?
Yes. Yes, they do. I think if everybody resets, if I'm Sliver, I consider going to Lucio just for the speed boost. Oh, this is going to be so close. Country Road has got to get an EMP up for this Diva Bomb.
Well, there goes Primal Rage, and there goes a very crucial defense matrix. Is going to eat up that Pulse Bomb. There goes the Diva Bomb onto the point. There goes Death Blossom. Only going to pick up Spoopy, though, but it's a pick nonetheless for Fresno State. Coalescence and Primal Rage being used by Colorado State. Bully Hunter picking up a double. Now all this damage going on to the Winston is going to take him out as well. And Fresno State manages to take their point back. Can Colorado State keep it going and maybe stall it out? No, they can't. That's the win for Fresno State.
If Country Roads could have had that EMP up for that Diva Bomb, I think that fight would have been a little bit different. It's just unfortunate he couldn't quite get there. You saw him call it in at the very end. As Sushi Lover will get our play of the game. Classic Symmetra fashion. Just standing there holding your laser beam while your other laser beams laser beam the laser beam.
Yep.
That's when we turned into team deathmatch for a little bit there. But honestly, a fantastic series from both these teams. I mean, I just feel like if Colorado State could just figure out, if Country Road could just maybe find something that isn't Sombra, I think Colorado State could be a very, very formidable team. And these are there's enough time left for Colorado State to figure it out. Neither of these teams, if I'm Boise State, am I really excited to see in the playoffs, because I think they both are capable of getting a big upset over you.
Yeah, they made the EMP work in the final round, but like you said earlier, Fish, if you're looking for that some sort of CC to set up for an ultimate, then, you know, why not pick the May, which is much more of a common pick right now. Colorado State really taking a huge hit to their win rate, though, getting 2 losses in one match. That really opens it up for San Jose State University. Now the ball's in their court, so to speak, in terms of can they claim that 4th place spot? How did they do in their matchups?
Yeah, I mean, Utah State's right there as well. They're both 3-3, so it is going to be a very, very interesting battle for that 3rd and 4th place spot. Really, for that 3rd spot is, of course, what everybody's gunning for. But then that 4th spot, I mean, yes, even though you have 4th spot probably means you play UNLV and probably means that you're not going to make it to the championship, making it to the playoffs is still more impressive than being stuck sitting at home. So there's definitely a lot of high-level Overwatch play left to go in the Mountain West. I think any of those 4 teams could probably get that last 2 playoff spots. I'm guessing Fresno State probably feels like they're in the driver's seat for 3rd, but everybody's looking up at Boise State and UNLV, and right now the rest of the Mountain West, though, they are up and coming. These teams battling for that 4th place spot, they are all very talented. And like I said, if Country Roads, you take this summer, you figure out how to play May or something that has a little bit more impact, Colorado State could easily find themselves where they find themselves in League of Legends, which is top of the pack.
Well, now we are going to be looking toward the ICCU player of the game here. And I don't know necessarily, it was such a journey. Not only a 5-game match as it was, but a 5-game match with so many unexpected plays and unexpected disconnect there. So, do you have any predictions, Fish?
Oh, I mean, it's going to be really, really tough. I would have to say, I mean, because there's a lot of swaps as well from both teams. So, I mean, man, KCV would be my pick probably.
Oh, Sushi Lover. Sushi Lover on the Bastion.
Yeah, I mean, it usually is going to go to DPS. I thought him and KCV played well, but yeah, this fantastic Bastion play was just phenomenal, honestly, for Sushi Lover.
Yeah, not only that, but also had a great time using that tank there. And we also saw this was such a bizarre this was such a bizarre match, to be honest.
Yeah, it really feels like every single map could have a player of the game, because outside of Eichenwald, Sushi Lover, you know, kind of suited in right there with KCV, right there with Ketchup Only, right there with Country Road. I mean, they're all very mixed together, but it was definitely a map of individual skill, and I felt this was probably, I agree with production, this is probably the best map we saw overall for a DPS. So a huge shout out to Sushi Lover picking up that ICCU player of the game.
Well, it is brought to you by Idaho Central Credit Union, who believes a great player makes a team more successful. Just like Idaho Central's helping members achieve financial success, Sushi Lover is your ICCU player of the game. And now as we look to close out the night, we will be bringing you the top 5 plays of the game, brought to you by the Idaho Army National Guard, who invites you to take your critical thinking skills into real time with more than 10 positions offering a $20,000 bonus and your degree of choice paid for. The Idaho Army National Guard is one of the best teams to join out there. Reach out to them at iGuard Gaming on Twitch. For now, though, that's going to do it for us tonight, and enjoy the top 5 plays of the game.
CSU can do, and Fresno State has definitely come alive here with the Sugaroo coming in for Sliver on that off-tank roll, and it's a finish going to pop this very aggressive rally and immediately get pinned for it.
Now is going to be swinging right into this McCree here and just take him out. Followed, it's going to make that a triple onto Spoopy, and this is one of the fastest pushes I have ever seen. Fresno State is just pushing through the Rams and like paper. Brought out here. There goes the Bastion over to the lower level there, and the Shatter is going to allow him to just tear through a very crucial immortality field, though. But it is not going to be enough, as all of the members of Colorado State just fall one after the other. Only Dio now, and they're just not having a good time.
Spot that Colorado State might not be expecting.
Oh, look at that boop there, followed by the gravitic flux there.
Uh-oh.
Oh. Uh-oh. Okay, man, it just well, Lucio can get back there, I assume, but they are all on that edge, vulnerable to that boop. And Rob out there. Fresno State having so much trouble getting to the victory and this checkpoint here. Ketchup only is going to be using the Deadeye. Taking out 3, are you kidding me?
That was a fantastic Deadeye. I didn't even see where it came from Ketchup only, and clearly neither did Fresno State. I think the problem here is for Fresno State, they made a great first push. They need
knocking other members off the edge there. There goes the Diva Bomb, and the hack is at the same time. That is going to take out 3, and that's the Rams opening right there. Mr. Right Click using that Primal Rage, pushing Suguru off the point there. It's being focused down, is taken out by Country Road, and not a moment too soon the Rams take the point.